Mm-hmm. I don't know. Can we?
Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to another meeting of the book club. This time we were reading Paul Anderson's The Broken Sword. How you guys doing tonight?
Pretty okay. Pretty okay.
Not dead inside?
No,
Not yet.
only you're dead inside.
Okay, just me? Okay. I think it was the book. DK, welcome to the show.
Yo.
Don't worry, DK. I was just about to let everybody know I still have a chapter and a half-ish to go, so let's try not to spoil it for us, but if you let something out...
I will not hold it against you.
I'll say this about the ending. It does not disappoint. The ending
Yeah,
is much
whatever.
better than I was expecting.
What I've read of it.
I have a feeling that it's not going to do that. Right off the bat, let's just go over. Is everybody enjoying the book?
Yes.
As best
Very
as
much.
I can.
Justin, not so
It
much.
was okay.
It was okay.
This for me goes right up there with the first elf book we read. The elf that got basically a cursed sword.
Or got
Elric of
didn't.
Melvin.
Correct.
Yeah, it didn't interest me that much. I mean, the parts with the changeling interested me more.
Oh yeah, no, I love
Yeah, the
Valgard.
first-
Valgard as a character is interesting.
We got to let Omen in because one, we haven't seen him in forever, and I know he was looking forward to this one as well. I think
I've
Omen,
Yeah,
been
man.
waiting
His
for like
book.
10, 15 minutes. You just been ignoring me. No, I'm just...
it's a little bit. That's,
Yeah, I was in the green room for a half hour before we
you're
went in.
full of shit. You were listening to the book like all of us last minuters.
No,
Nope.
I took the last half hour and went for a nap because I
Oh,
listened
it
to it
must
on
be
three.
nice, you lucky bastard.
I
excuse
listened to
me.
it on 3.5 times speed.
I just read it. I read it
See,
last week.
I have it in physical copy. I thought in my naivety I'd be able to finish like 200 pages in like 3 hours.
See, at 2.5 times speed audio, it's only a 2.5 hour book.
Well, that's great.
Sure,
That's great, but I didn't.
just a couple of bumps and a pot of coffee. You'll be able to keep up. I ordered the book. I ordered this paperback book on the 5th of last month. I still haven't got it. It's still not even in California yet.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why we had to hold off because I figured, I gave it, like 2 weeks to get here, or a week to get here and a week to read it, and no. So
Before we start this actual discussion, I will say to you, Crafting Gamer, the fact that you brought up Elric is interesting because my version is the Fantasy Masterworks book, and in the first page, it literally says on the front by Michael Moorcock, one of the most influential fantasy novels I've ever read, and it goes on further to say, it has a wonderful, wild, manic originality, a driven story, and a genuine feel of the grim realities informing the Anglo-Saxon myth and legend which few other fantasies possess. The inevitability of its drama, its doom, and its emotional conflicts make it one of the most influential fantasy novels I ever read. The fact that this was probably a big influence on Elric isn't surprising to me at all.
Okay.
yeah, I can draw a lot of parallels to it with the sword and just
Falling in love with your own relative.
Uh,
The incest.
Yeah.
No,
no.
incest.
I mean, but that was the intentional part of. That's one of the things that cursed him. I mean, to be fair.
Oh yeah.
this book is cursed. I'm just going to lay it out there.
No.
This-
How much did you pay on eBay for the book?
About $10 with shipping.
You
So,
could have
so
gotten
yeah,
it for less
okay,
than that on Amazon, and it would have been in your hands 2 days after you ordered it.
I mean, literally,
Yeah.
it was like the day after I got it.
I ordered it from a local like school supply store. So it cost me like
I
10
honestly
euro or
thought
something like
I
that.
honestly thought I'd have it in time, but no.
But I've had it for a while. I've
I'm
had my
just-
copy for a while, so I'll go ahead, crafting.
I'm just a barnacle sitting on the bottom of Justin's pirate ship, waiting for any
Mhm.
scraps he drivers from his books.
Matey.
Yo ho ho, and a bottle of etc. etc. etc.
I was just saying Excedrin and a bottle of Excedrin. That would
Yes.
have been funny.
Exactly.
Well,
But no,
yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
see.
book
I
is
do have to
cursed.
find.
Oh my god. I
It-
was
it-
hating it. At the beginning, I'm just like, oh god, this is so rough. You know what I mean? And then around
Yeah,
chapter
exactly.
8 to 10, I'm like, oh man, this is good, but I hate every second of liking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
the writing's good,
Yeah.
but I could give
What
a
I-
rat's ass about
I
the story.
I actually enjoyed the kind of saga-esque writing of it. I kind of enjoyed it. It was novel and different than what I'm used to reading, but
Well,
Yeah.
the writing, it wasn't bad. The style of writing wasn't bad either. It's just I would not call the story overly captivating.
It is
that's
a
fair.
very traditional. What I want to call is, to me, it feels like a traditional Norse
Like a chronicle or
mythology
something.
chronicle. Yeah, it would like one of the Norseland sagas that's been somewhat updated. You took the style of it and you ran with it, and I said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, even the way he says things, like he changes verbiages and nouns and stuff like that. It's interesting. It is a bit rough, I will admit, but
It's not for me.
Yeah, it's a little. I want to say almost pretentious in some ways for me. There's some things about it. He
You
did a
could,
good job accomplishing. Like I'm certain what he set out to do, and for that, I'll give him a couple of thumbs up. But
I will
man,
say I understand where Gygax and Arneson got the idea of naming 8th level elves, wizards, warlocks, because he uses the word warlock a lot when he's describing elven spellcasters.
yeah, there were a lot of D&D, a lot of inspiration was drawn from this book. I can see that now.
The
The
booty
trolls are very
plundering.
The
Well,
trolls are very different, though. I was led to believe that they were like the carrot nosed regenerators, which clearly they're not. So I have to wonder what exactly were they, because they weren't giants, they weren't goblins, they weren't.
They fit more of
they're-
the ogre
They're
style.
slaves. They are slaves of the Jotun. I remember him bringing up like Valgard.
they're not
asks,
slaves to the Jotun. They're
What's up,
basically
Matt?
cousin to the Jotun. Like
Yeah.
dwarves are cousins to the elves.
What I mean is that Ilraid shoots down Valgard's proposal to ask the Jotun for help because basically they're afraid of drawing them into the conflict because then I think
Oh well.
Ragnarok would happen or something. They
Well,
plus
yeah,
they don't want to
he's-
rely on them for help.
Well, it's twofold. He basically says that it could trigger the final war, but
Yeah.
he also basically says that the Jotun are evil, are even eviler than they are.
Well, and
Yeah.
to be fair on this, the trolls match more of what would be a D&D ogre, in my view, for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking ogres or maybe hobgoblins.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to say this much. Did you notice that in one of them they were actually talking about kind of the Oni style? Oh, this one came from the east.
Shem.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that was the.
Yeah.
Well, they make two references to different creatures from different lands. Like they blatantly bring in a satyr during the early part of the book.
yeah,
Well,
that the old Greek gods got smoked down by the White Christ. I think they said or something like that.
The Shem were the Orientals, whether they were Chinese or Japanese. They kind of I
Far
don't know.
East.
I assume they were like Middle Eastern or something, but
No.
Orient
That-
stands for Central.
Because they said junks. They sailed in on junks, which isn't that a Japanese boat?
Oh.
it's a
Oh no, it's
Chinese.
Chinese.
Yeah,
It's
but
Chinese.
here's
Yeah.
the thing: the way that they described them, with being brightly colored and have followed certain things, that sounds very Oni. Yeah, it sounds very Oriental for that.
Fair
So
enough.
Japanese or Chinese. Yeah, it's very. But you know what though, and I know everyone's like, "Well, I don't like this style." Yes, but you can see where a lot of these are coming from in there, and you start saying, "Oh, okay." That's the whole reason that we're reading the appendix in, because it says these are inspirations for D&D.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
If these
That is
books are,
illegal.
if the trend of these books is anything to say about Gary Gygax, I understand where he's gotten the reputation as being a character killer.
I also understand. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, everyone says
don't ruin
that,
the
but
end for the
But you know, it was based off
The
of the
2003
war
suckers
game. It was kind of
who
like,
haven't
don't
got there
get too
yet.
attached. You know, that's
Yeah.
you know,
Well, that's what I was going to say earlier. This book is, clearly a tragedy, and I got to the point where
There's
uh,
also a setup for a sequel.
Yes, there was actually a pretty good
maybe
setup too.
maybe that's one of the other books
I-
that was on the list.
there are no sequels.
Did anybody?
To this. This is
Did
Yeah.
everybody get to the price the girl had to pay?
Yes.
Yes,
Or,
yes.
No, I don't
Yes.
think I don't think I did.
Yes,
Well, in
because
that
she
case,
had
I
to
won't
give up her
spoil it.
child, which I nailed that as soon as Odin was pointing to her belt. I'm like, there you go.
Yeah.
He's
See,
gonna take the child.
I thought it completely different. Let's not spoil it for DK. But I
Too
thought he
late.
wanted something else that was there. Just saying, because I'm a dirty old man.
Yeah.
Well, I
that
wasn't
and
thinking
like
quite that dirty. I was thinking more along the lines of he wanted a child from her, not
Well,
specifically
this-
the main character's child. I did not
Well,
realize that at the time. I
well,
thought he just
remember-
wanted to bear a child.
Well, remember,
Yeah.
this is very similar with Grimm's fairy tales. When you also have Rumpelstiltskin, I
Yep.
will do whatever, but it's going to cost you, and it's almost always the firstborn child. You know, so
Yeah.
and
I
remember,
didn't
we're
even
dealing
think
with
of that. As a matter of fact, I hadn't thought of Rumpelstiltskin in decades. So thank you for bringing that back to
yeah.
my mind. I'm going to have to
Well-
use that at some point because that
Well,
was a classic.
it's the whole thing which people are forgetting about is, you know, you're looking at and I'm sure you're going to correct me, DK, with the she.
Mhm.
You know, they, that's, and the elves and everything else with changelings. I saw a lot more of it, to be fair on this, is coming from Changeling the Dreaming from, by White Wolf, where they tag a lot of this stuff. But I do love the fact that they actually dealt with the fairy realm, which was kind of ignored in a lot of the other books. They it's like, oh, we'll talk about fairies, but this one really like delved into, oh, there's a changeling, they take this, and when you had the elf king literally rape the troll.
Yeah.
I was that was just thinking about that part was so
What was that,
foul.
chapter 6?
That was just like, you got to be kidding me. You got.
But that was that he did not. That's very traditional. I mean, when you start looking at a lot of this stuff,
Well,
this is someone that actually has more of the traditional non-pulp style of storytelling.
Yeah.
You know,
What I just enjoy about this story is that all the non-humans are just completely and irredeemably fucking evil.
Well, everyone in the story except the one character is literally just that, and even then,
The humans aren't too bad; they're just flawed. But the elves,
Freda, I was speaking of Freda. She's like the only character that I can think of that wasn't a monster.
oh yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
yeah.
Orm wasn't bad. A lot of them
Well,
were.
Orm's actions led to everything that happened on some level, because if he hadn't have burned the witch's sons alive, she wouldn't have cursed him. And if that curse didn't happen, none of this would have happened.
What I was about to say,
Yeah.
the changelings' adopted brothers, the one who was a little lecherous towards the witch when she looked super hot, which might have just been magical anyway. Other than that, those two were actually depicted as being good sons. Good, loved by the
Husband literally nearly froze to death to get his brother back.
Yep.
I mean,
pretty cool.
So it was the bloodline itself, but the bloodline was the only good people of the story.
But I mean, to me, this sounds very. I mean, whether you read Greek mythology or you're going to read Norse mythology, this is all pretty common stuff. I mean, look at Oedipus, Rex and things like that. Which is you always want to read about the tragic character and how whatever you did destroyed you. With like Oedipus's father,
Yeah, I'm kind of done with tragedies for a while. What's up, Dungeon Minister? We are talking about The Broken Sword by Paul Anderson. I'm gonna have to go read some comic books or something. Yeah, this one is just
I love that. Shadow says he's done with tragedies for a while. What did I say I wanted to pick?
3 Hearts, 3 Lions.
No, Lovecraft.
I actually recommended Lovecraft as well. What one did you recommend?
Yeah, I
haven't decided yet because
I was
recommending the Dream Quest. That's what I was going to go for.
Okay, let's knock this out of the park right now. If we're going to do Lovecraft, let's do a couple so that we can at least have one Lovecraft in October. Is that too much to ask?
Well, I mean, the Dream Quest is a fairly long one. It's a fairly sizable text, so we could bang that one out.
Which is the one where the guy keeps talking about the painter?
I never heard of this one.
I think that's a good one if you guys are going to pick one. I mean, I don't know.
Rats in the Walls is another good one. It's fairly short, though.
Well, if you can do multiple, that's not too bad, because it's...
Yeah. Well, according to this, that if we go off of this week for the next time we do a book, that'll be the 26th, the last Thursday of the month. And then the next month, and then of course the next will be in October. So we could just do 2 Lovecraft books back to back.
Nice.
I think that would be a crowd pleaser, if you know what I mean. Just because
I would have no problem doing Lovecraft the 26th, the 10th, the 24th.
Well, aren't there any other horror writers as well?
Clark Ashton Smith.
Yeah, Clark Ashton Smith would be a good one as well in that group.
You could also do Dunsany.
I didn't know that he did horror as much as he did.
Well, I mean, he inspired the more
Dream Quest.
Horrific. Yeah, he also like the nameless things. I think were pulled from Dunsany in Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Okay, I thought he was mostly credited with the Dream Quest and the Gates of the Silver Key and those sort of stories.
Maybe.
Because I tried reading one of his books and I just couldn't get into it. It was just too psychedelic, which is weird for the time.
Yeah, fair enough.
But we can
especially since you bleed acid and not the kind from Aliens.
We can let's shoot for a couple of Lovecraft and see if we're still in that sort of mood when we get there, because they will. Is Dunsany on the list?
It just
yes.
I think it just said Lovecraft in general. At least the list I looked at.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Dunsany is a big inspiration on Lovecraft, so but I think he might be there. I don't remember. I haven't looked at the list in a while.
This is why I asked you to create a full list. That way we could also check things off as we went through them. Is because the list I keep finding and the one...
Oh, he's there. He's there.
The one I shared with
I figured he was.
Crafting.
Yeah, I'll have to find a link to it, and then I'll post it in there.
Yeah, well, because the list I keep finding, the one I shared with Crafting, just has like authors generally.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the ones online are like that. Or if they're indexed.
Yeah, I found one that was actually, I think, like word for word, it was just dressed up like on a scroll. It was really, pretty to look at. But I don't.
But also because we don't have it somewhere, we can't check things off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
what I'll do is
I just don't want to get down 3 years from now and be like covering things we've already done.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll make a separate channel that I don't want you guys to comment in. It'll just be
you can prevent
messaging.
You can have it,
right.
Have it show
but
only.
it'll be right above it so that it's just a reference location. And real quick, Dungeon Minister, you read this book? Just curious, because it sounds like you did. I had never read anything by this author, nor ever wanted to. And I was really hating a lot of this, because there's a lot of things about it that really just go against my preferences,
Hmm.
but I'm like now I'm dying to find out how it ends, and I know it's going to be grim and ugly, and I'll probably cry. So I'm glad I didn't
You won't
actually
cry.
get. No,
There's
I'm
not
just.
enough emotional attachment with any of the characters for that.
Well, to be honest, the only one that I really okay, favorite characters, folks. Let's do that.
The
Um,
dog.
the dog. Jack's not here, so no.
I read 3 Hearts and 3 Lions. Yeah.
Okay.
That's where the
Well,
paladin comes from, baby.
maybe give this one a try, Dungeon Minister. Although it's pretty bleak. So, TCG, you were here first. What's your favorite? What's your favorite character?
I'd actually have to say, oh man, it's a toss up between the Changeling and, interestingly enough,
Volgarth.
the Elven King,
Okay.
Imric.
Emmerich. The thing with the Changeling, it felt. I mean, I know he's supposed to be the bad guy, but it felt like there was a potential for more among the character, and I kind of like that.
Well,
But
he was supposed to be the bad guy, but he's like a horrifically tragic bad guy.
Yeah.
Who's,
I don't think he is. If you know anything about what changelings are in mythology, there was no hope for him. They
well,
just.
that's what I mean. He didn't ask.
Yeah.
He didn't ask for what he was given, so to speak. He was sort of like destined to be
It's his
a
nature.
bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't consider like people destined to be evil as tragic. I just think that's incumbent on his nature. I don't think the orcs are tragic in Lord of the Rings. I don't.
No, I don't think the orcs were tragic. I think this character was tragic because I could see had things gone just a little bit differently at the beginning, things would have gone very different for him.
Honestly, the only good thing that could have happened to him is if the witch never cursed Orm if he was never born. I think honestly that was probably the best thing for him.
Well, so much with Emmerich is he knew, and if you start looking at it, was okay. And you also have to look at the time of this. The point of this is the last of the Fae as things start coming through. I mean, which is very much like the Norse mythology. Hey, this is coming towards an end,
Ragnarok.
which is very common.
Yeah.
But the other part is, and this is the thing that Shadow's like, I don't understand how they do this. If you actually read what he said in there, was humans learn faster than elves, and they have a greater potential in certain ways. And they burn fast, they burn bright. That was one of the things they talk about with humans, which is what probably Gygax took a lot anyway as well.
Well, that's always the thing. That's even in Lord of the Rings, right? Like, elf civilization is
but I
old,
find that kind of a little forced in the fact that we're humans, so we're going to make what we are the best because we can't possibly comprehend anything out there.
Humanity, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah,
get on the team, bro.
Team people. One, you're supposed to empathize with people, with humans in these stories anyway. But two, it makes sense why the elves don't learn things as fast is because they have all the time in the world. They live forever.
Right, so, but my point is there could be something better than humans, and no one has the guts to.
There are. They're called gods.
Yeah,
and
gods.
I mean, there's plenty of things that say that humans are insignificant. That's the whole thing of it. But when you're looking at these, is that the problem is you're trying to equate elves to gods, and they're not. And that's
no. I equate elves to one step removed below angels.
Well, you're still elevating them too high.
You're still making them into demigods, essentially. You're making them into transcendent, supernatural, divine beings.
I don't think they're.
And besides,
divine.
they're women. They're not.
I don't think they're divine. I think they're close.
Well,
Shadow.
Here's the thing: is a lot of
how much
do
you actually know about Christian angels?
Yeah.
Most of them have powers that surpass the ancient gods. So if you're talking something just
well,
below an angel, you're already talking something as powerful
But
as an
there's
ancient
at
god.
least one of them that's like a 100 eyeballs bound in 3 golden rings with.
Okay,
6
maybe a
wings.
lot less.
So
a lot less than
well-
angels, but a lot more than humans.
Well,
Like,
here's
no,
the
not
thing.
even
You're also not steeped in fairy
Mythology.
mythology, which I mean, because Dark Knight is
No,
have
I'm
Ireland,
actually
you steep in
probably
that.
more steeped in Tolkienism, to be honest, because I didn't read a lot of mythology. And then,
See, the thing, the most an elf would do is cause minor blights to farms. Basically, what trolls are, like they enter your mind and they blight you, and you need a god to harrow you. That's basically they're mischief makers and trouble starters, and basically demons. They can be exorcised by humans. They're like
you gotta
imps.
understand, guys, that I grew up not reading mythology, but reading a lot of D&D, and I read Tolkien. And
even in that literature, they're not that high up.
Let me finish. If you notice that in the original Monster Manual, elves were always good. Okay.
No, in OD&D, they weren't.
Look, elves in mythology are nothing even remotely good, as far as I can see.
Yes.
I will say in OD&D they were neutral and chaotic, so them being all good was very dubious.
Well, no. Let's remember one thing. We're reading the Appendix N to understand where D&D comes from, and the problem is you're coming from the opposite way, which is you're trying to impose what D&D is onto the original source material that he was using for inspiration. You have to flip it exactly. You have it 180 degrees. This is like saying that your son determines on how good you are as when you were growing up as a kid. It's like, no, that's not how that works. He didn't exist
to give Shadow his due, I'm not even saying that your interpretation is bad, like in a moral sense. It's just we're just saying it's inaccurate. You're free to have a preference for how Tolkien does his elves, or to treat elves as above humans. That's perfectly fine.
Whoa. You're never supposed to give Shadow the leeway or the benefit of the doubt ever.
I just did. He's host and he's my friend, so I'm gonna let you do what I want.
The whole point
Thank you, DK. I appreciate that.
It's all good, man.
Like I was telling George here, I never read the Silmarillion, so I'm just going by the elves in the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, except for the Wood Elves, of course, were pretty good. You know what I mean? And that's all I had to go by.
To be fair,
I started learning about Irish mythology and things like that. I'm like, well, these guys are scumbags.
To be fair, I will also say, like, I played a lot of like Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and the elves in that was really my first exposure to elves, really. And those guys were arrogant, condescending, and genocidal maniacs.
Yeah.
They were not good people. You know,
same as the Melbourneans, which were clearly elves as well. They're not
like
good.
That's why like elves and OD&D are neutral and chaotic. Like from the Broken Sword, 3 Hearts and 3 Lines, and Elric of Melniboné. That's actually why
Tolkien.
Yeah, it's undoubtedly that's why they're spell swordsmen. Yeah.
But Paul Anderson is pretty much a contemporary of Tolkien for the 50s. And again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to pick something 30 years later after Gygax has read all these books. Remember, he said these were inspirations for all of it. We're trying to use 30 years after he decided to pick different things. Which of course he said, well, you know what, I want elves to be this versus this. He didn't get a lot into the fairy. Like I said, Changeling the Dreaming is much closer to fairies as this is being portrayed. And you go, okay, but just like you were talking about. We're reading this stuff like for Baba Yaga and everything else, where you get all of this stuff in there, and I think that's part of the problem. Is usually like, well, I don't like it because that's not the way I grew up. Well, yes, but this predated D&D by 30 years. It predated when you were born by 10 to 15 years. So
depends on who you ask.
Yeah, but I mean, that's it. And Tolkien, you can see where he decided, like, okay, I took the Norse mythologies and now I'm going to turn it towards kind of the Christian view for this, and this is more of, hey, the Christians are being Christian is what protected you from the fairies, or at least the gods protected you from the fairies. because even like Thor and things like that, they're like, oh,
It would
this
hallow
one
you,
is
yeah.
Christian. You know, that was part of the changeling. Is why did he do that? Because he didn't really pick one god or the other to baptize the child, and the changeling said, oh, this is our one chance to get a human child.
The elf needed a human because for whatever reason, it's never other than just maybe having a good warrior. So he said, well,
no, it's actually said specifically.
I don't remember what was
holy
it?
water, and the
That was
cross
it, yeah.
are the weaknesses of all Fae, and he can handle all three.
And
Which
so
incidentally is where turning the undead came from.
It's well, I mean that and all anyone that
And Hammer Horror, yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean specifically the paladin.
So let's move back to favorite character. Justin, did you have one?
What's her face? The elf chick that wanted
Leia?
the guy, the human guy to love him, and she was like,
yeah,
"Yes, I do love you."
Leea, I think, or I don't know if it's Leia.
Yeah, it sounded like Leia, Leah in the audio.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's a weird choice, but I could see that. Knowing Justin the way I do, I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's because, simply put, the way that's even described with how Scaffold, or Scaffold, falls in love with his sister, the elves don't. They're very cold in their love to one another. So she is going after the protag because he loves better than elven men do, but he goes with his sister because elven women don't love, and when he sees her, she's more affectionate. So it's like, eh.
Yeah.
I can kind of see why she'd be somewhat compelling as a character, but
She was in a way, to me, she was one of the most despicable characters in the entire book.
Oh yeah,
Of
no,
course
she was. Yeah,
yeah, she was.
Yeah.
But
Because,
you know,
like,
it shows that they have a different morality. That was part of it. Is to
She
show
had
that
no
the elves have
morality
completely
whatsoever.
different morality.
No, different. They had it. They had their moralities, but it wasn't ours. It was alien to us.
I would
That's a good word.
say, I would argue morality. They have their own perspective. I would say that by virtue of them not having a soul, they wouldn't have a morality. But that's just me.
Yeah, no. I mean, they don't really have a morality in certain cases. Like, they may have honor and things, but like she switches sides so fast, she doesn't really care one way or the other.
Yeah.
Oh,
like, doesn't she come on to Volgard at one point or some shit like that?
Technically, what happens from the beginning is she didn't actually switch sides. I think she was trying to get the human, I forgot her name already, but the human female killed. But what she said, what the elves females will do is wait until the elf males do an uprising, and then they will turn on the.
What's even more disturbing? I'm just going to point this out. What makes her truly despicable? She raised, and it's even said she suckled Scaffold to her breast, and she's sleeping with him, and he's 15 years old. This is fucked up.
Well,
to look at it,
maybe that's why Justin likes her.
Yeah.
No,
well, here's the thing. They kind of explain that in Elven boredom. They kind of explain that elves get really bored with how long they live. So to the elves, even things that humans would consider sexually devious or even just straight up wrong, to the elves, oh yeah, did that already. I was so bored like 500 years ago. I needed something new to
That's what I'm saying. I understand like the rationale they would make. It's still wrong.
You must also remember that the not being sexually active at 15 is a later 20th century thing.
Yeah,
like that.
Not even true. There are accounts in ancient Romans that say that the men keep their virginity until they're 20. The Romans praised them for this.
Yeah, but it wasn't normal or even mainstream ideology until like the 70s in our society, and you're talking early Rome. That's like more than 2,000 years ago.
A lot of it depends on the culture. A lot of it just depends on certain
and
things.
even today worldwide,
most young men
is incredibly low in lots of places. Like Germany, it's like 14.
Most young
we
men
raised it from 14 to 16 just 15 years ago.
Okay,
10,
no. But most young men couldn't even get a woman because they had not proved themselves. We're not talking about women, but we're talking about men. And this was where he was. But here's the other point. When you're starting to talk about, it's not the elves have a morality. She's like, oh, well, they'll come in and we'll sleep with the trolls, and you should look forward to it because this is this
Yeah.
will act as a
Well,
distraction.
I thought of it more as a survival defense mechanism, because they knew that if they did anything other than play along, they were dead. But they knew if they played along, they could then start poisoning them and using their wiles to get them to fight one another. So their plan worked.
I mean, there's also the fact that this is kind of mirrored. This is mirrored as well when Valgard returns to his father's home after he kills them and his two sons, and he basically gives them the choice of, hey, we're going to kill all the men, and any women who want to survive, you can walk out. If not, we're going to burn the building down. I kind of there's some level of parallels in this and what the elves are doing. It's just maybe what you're saying is true.
Well, the whole point is that the elves don't have. When you look at us, they don't really love. They don't. What they look at is you're a toy.
Yeah.
You were a toy. Skafgald was a toy. Oh, I'll do this. And Leah was kind of his surrogate mother anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
It was. I mean, when you're looking at all of this, but no, when they come in like, oh, you should enjoy this. This will take away the boredom as we get to sleep with the trolls, and then later on we'll kill them off. There is no human rationale of morality there. It's. I mean,
they're just not moral. They're not.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not good people.
No, I mean, the king didn't really care that what he did with the troll. It was like, oh yeah, well we're going to do this.
I mean, there's even another scene where Imric is going to get Scaffold's. I keep forgetting his name. Scaffold's weapons, and the king, whom he's getting them made, says, "I would have preferred if you released my people you've enslaved." And Imric just looks at him and says, "Nah, they're too useful," and he just walks off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean. The point of it is that they're supposed to be alien. They're not supposed to be for that whole thing.
He definitely accomplished that.
You notice the way the ogres or the trolls or whatever gain their loyalty during the invasion is by freeing the slaves they have of those the
or at least saying they will.
Yes. Well,
they did that. They had the goblins.
Usually creatures like that in myth are bound by their oaths.
Yeah, that is true.
But that's part of the fairy magic is that it's like, look, we're just not human, which is why I actually enjoyed this book, is because it wasn't like everything else we read. It's not the pulp heroic fiction. It is a classic tragic tale, which is what I grew up a lot with the Greek mythologies as well. When you start looking at their fairy-like creatures. It's like there's a reason that you don't traffic with non-humans because they're
very dangerous.
Yes, and that's it. Wasn't until Tolkien did some of that, that we said, oh, okay, now we have good. Actually, the dwarves were about the only ones that I viewed as any kind of goodness as far as the fairy.
And they were too vague in here to really make that assumption. For me, anyways.
They were largely a slave or a clientele class in every society they were in. So, but from what little we did see of them, they were duty bound, studious, and hardworking. For the most part,
I do know from mythology, dwarves were raised to the level of badassery by Tolkien and Gary Gygax. In actual mythology, dwarves are mostly just a working class.
They're akin to Browning.
One at a time.
Yeah, the dwarves essentially in Norse mythology were essentially dark elves. I'm not even joking. Their name just means dark elf.
But
I've never seen dark elf in any of my research, so I don't actually know. But
the niche.
Well, the Norse in Norse mythology, they were the ones that built. They were the craftsmen. Which is what they, which is still what they still took. But as far as like in war, they weren't. That was, how do I want to say it? They were the ones who were saying, "Hey, we're going to create things, and then you guys go off to war for all this." Which is like, okay, but you're right. Yeah, Tolkien's the one that made them more into a warlike race.
Yeah, they were more like the way we perceive gnomes almost in the hobby, and they were
A lot of historians believe that gnome and dwarf are just two different names from two different cultures, but they represent the same fae.
Yeah, I've always suspected that as well, but have
Mhm.
no way to
And
back
a
it
lot
up.
of it is this, what we consider gnomes would be more of, well, I mean, the way that Tolkien kind of separated the two was you get the craftsmen, which I'm not, and then you get the what I want to call the menial servant work was kind of the gnomes, whereas the dwarves were the ones that were building the what was the rope that captured Fenrir, so he couldn't break it.
It was a cloth. I don't remember its name. Let me look it up one sec.
Yeah, but it was like a fine, it was like a fine thread. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done that, but no, I mean they had a lot of that, and it was kind of like, oh, you go to the dwarves because you don't want to go to the Jotun, who also can forge similar weapons. It was like, oh, they're yeah,
It's called
Yeah.
Gleipnir, I think.
Yeah, how it basically works out is
Gleipnir. Yeah.
So, Omen, who was your favorite character?
I'll tell you the one that I did like was the one, and I can't remember. I'm terrible with names. It starts with an F. Was the
Straight up.
was the one that they sent out to hunt down the witch?
Oh,
It was
Fire
like-
Spear. You mean Flame Spear or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It was like Fionnier or something like that. The Flame Spear or something like that. I kind of liked that
Yeah.
character because he did the duty bound. He did what he had to do, but he didn't seem to have what I want to say. He didn't seem to play.
He was a badass without a lot of baggage.
He was not arrogant, essentially. He just very matter of fact. Like I love the line after he kills the witch. He goes, "And now perhaps we can go and find a better hunt."
Yeah. But he was not the. He didn't play the games of what the nobles did, which is when you start looking at both of them. This noble does this, noble does that. But I'll be honest, I kind of liked, as far as characters, I also enjoyed what was the She King, and I did enjoy Scaffold and
Earl
Rhaegar.
King or something like that.
I forgot what. Well, the king that when he went over to.
That was actually my favorite character. His name was Manon. He's the Sea King, the Irish Sea King.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Earl King. My bad.
He was kind of a happy-go-lucky, this kind of sucks, but let's enjoy it while we can, kind of, character. He's like the only character that didn't seem to be just utterly corrupt or guilty or just tragic,
But see, I don't look at Scaffold as a tragic character. I actually viewed him as pretty good. It's just that he was caught up by. No,
I got
he was
2
tragic
chapters to go, so jury's still out on him.
But he was not a bad person. Is the thing with Scaffold, is the way I look at it.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
It's very similar, like
here's
Rex,
the thing for me, though.
Yeah.
Here's the thing for me. Once he found out that was his sister, it should have been okay. I guess I'm going to be, hooking up with somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
again,
but
raised
he was
by the
never
dwarf,
raised
by the elves. So to
raised
him,
with
family
elves
relations literally mean nothing because
Yeah.
through the elves.
But she probably should have, since she is
She
a Christian woman.
She when she found out, she did turn away.
Yeah,
She left.
she hit the road.
And his view was,
you'll
yes,
see.
this is a mortal sin, but I don't care. Was how he did it,
Yeah.
Well, because he didn't believe in that whole.
He was raised by God, literally by godless people, because none of the elves worshipped any of them because they had no souls.
Right. And that was the thing that they said. Oh, we get the clerics and stuff. Which, like I said, I enjoyed this because it's much more of the classic. The classic Norse mythology and a lot of the tragedy. A lot of mythologies are, when they do that, they want tragedies to warn you against doing certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sleep with your sister, baptize your child. I mean, yeah, no.
Put iron over their cottage to keep the Fae away. Dear God.
Yeah. So how about you, Crafting? Favorite character?
You already asked me.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I guess we're done with that.
Is it DK that's next or not?
Did we start with them?
No, we started
Oh
with
yeah, we did
crafting.
because he was here first. Oh God, sorry guys.
It's all good. Apart from Valgard, who I like the fact that he's just irredeemably, unbelievably evil, and he makes a great villain. The actual character that now that I think about it, I actually liked the satyr. I liked him. I liked him because he was just this little moment.
I already said the dog.
No, fuck off.
There was no dog. Was there? Oh, there was.
No,
There was a
the
dog.
There's a
dog.
couple of dogs.
You haven't got there though. You haven't got there.
No.
There's
Yeah. I liked him for the simple fact that it was kind of a glimpse into the fact of it's foreshadowing that there is an end coming and they can't stop it. But it's also just he's just a deeply sad character. He's far from home. Everything he knows is gone. You know, and it's kind of weird that Scaffold just kind of looks at him like he doesn't really react to him.
I mean, Scaffold.
Scaffold. Yeah, sorry.
Just kind of something else over here.
I know what a scaffold. I know what a scaffold is. I just
okay. Like, wait a minute.
Well, to be fair, he's holding up the whole story, so you know, it's fine. Like Scaffold. Scaffold just kind of looks at him with curiosity more than anything, you know. And it's just, which it makes sense. But I don't know. There was just something about it where just this guy's lamenting all the friends, the dryads, the gods. His realm was lost to the white, you know, the white god Christ. They were all just gone, and he's ostracized everywhere else. So he's just alone forever. You know, it was just this little moment that I liked about it. You know.
Omina?
Omen already said his favorite character.
Did he?
Yeah,
It went crafting, then you, then Omen, then me.
Shadow's turn.
So Shadow's left.
Shadow is left.
Well, Omina, you tell us what Shadow's favorite character is, though.
No, Shadow, you.
He's being soulless and void.
No, I said my favorite character was Manon. The sea god. He was.
Right.
You see when you get to there, he's just a fun, you know, kind of, you know, adventurer at heart, even though he's a god, and
I would just like to say,
doesn't let this, you know, weigh him down, kind of.
I just remembered a character that I actually would say I liked more than anybody else, and that was the blind forging giant.
how
excited he got when he felt his sword again.
I honestly thought that was going to be your favorite character, but I didn't say anything because I you know, from what I know of you, crafting, you know, he's a crafter. You're a crafting gamer.
Yeah,
I figured it's like, you know what, this.
I almost forgot about that character because his scene is so brief, but it is a good scene.
Yeah, he's
it was 30 seconds for me.
He's an interesting bastard.
I will say one of the funniest moments in the whole thing is like the English elves go to the Irish for help, and the Irish are like, "What wealth do you have that we don't have, dumbass? So you're on your own. Bye bye."
I'm going to mention. You know what? If we're going to mention favorite character, which is going to be interesting, let's go with the sword. I mean, because that sword.
I'm not done. So again, I don't know if I could chalk from up until the last two chapters. It doesn't seem to have a personality. Maybe it's
not to directly spoil, but it gains one.
Forces it to happen. That's my point.
You know, like
its own personality.
Well, I mean, do you know where Moorcock actually got Stormbringer from? And it's interesting in the story because you actually meet the namesake of that blade in Norse mythology in the book.
Hitting your desk.
Shut up.
No, because we can all hear it. It's annoying.
Cool, I don't care. Anyway, it's Tyrfing. I think it means the blade of Tyr or the blade of the war god, and it likewise was an intelligent sword that drank blood, which I think is where Moorcock got it, and it's probably where Paul Anderson got the idea for this sword. So The idea, the idea of sentient swords is fairly common in actually not common. It crops up a few times in mythology.
Yeah, but it's a cursed weapon is the point. And he says, I will accept it anyway. And then the giant kind of laughs. It's like,
boy.
The same as the axe, the other.
But that one was made cursed because he used it to do dishonorable things, which is kind of interesting.
Technically, that was something I was thinking about, especially at the end when the axe. Oh, you haven't met it. I can't spoil that trap.
I don't care. I don't give a shit because I'm sure.
Okay. The axe actually has no power. He just thought it was cursed.
Well, that's kind of the thing in medieval.
The blade, the axe catches on fire.
Well, to be fair, to the medieval mind, belief in a thing turns it magical. So him believing that it was cursed probably did make it magic.
Many cultures actually had that belief.
Not enough to withstand the sword.
Right.
Clearly, actually.
I said it was magical. I didn't say it was indestructible.
Fair. Well,
and there were a lot of magical weapons actually in this.
But
a lot of this has to come down to that. The axe is cursed because the wielder has committed evil with it. That's what came down to it.
Kind of like in Japanese culture with some of their
Muramasa, and the Masamune.
Right.
Oh well, an anime I watched took it to the extreme, but the idea of killing so many of a certain type of creature to put a power on a weapon.
Oh yeah, no, that's that happens. You kill enough. Like in Tolkien has this as well. Just to loop it back to him. Like look at foe hammer and orc biter. Those weapons are notorious for killing, goblins and orcs. So it probably I know, granted, it was because they were designed to do it, but I could easily see that if you kill enough orcs with the same weapon, and the orcs believe it to be thus, it could eventually gain those properties. Get a bit of Warhammer in there.
Which is weird because like with this sword in the story, it had a very distinct look, but in order for a sword to get a reputation like that, you need to get a good look at it. Who survives to get a good look at it to be able to
people in the back rows who get to run away first,
right? And even then, how distinct a look is it? Is it what makes it distinct? This one we can all kind of describe it with the the dragon hilt and everything. Those
the runes on it.
The way that they describe it is kind of like an aura. They can just tell it's a demon blade.
I was going by the physical description of its dragon pommel or that's something you can see from a distance.
Shadow, what I'm referring to, a fey being, especially a fey being, but even humans could feel something that is evil enough. And fey beings, especially given the fact that trolls are partially giant, would definitely feel the power of that sword. They don't have to see it to know it's demon possessed. Any troll would immediately recognize it, even without.
I guess I am going by my.
Oh, thanks, George. Yeah. George was correcting me on calling them the biter and the beater, the Glamdring and Orcrist. I just couldn't remember the elven names for them.
But here's the other part. Weapons were imparted because of the people who wielded them.
Yeah.
And only then did they gain power. It's not now this was special because that had been forged from the very beginning. But to commit evil with a weapon over time is what got it. It's and that's one of the things that I do like. Not that I have played very much, but that was one of the things, the rules I liked about Earthdawn. Earthdawn is that you empowered your weapon. You started putting threads into your weapons, and that's what made them magical. It wasn't forged magic. Like D&D is like you find a magic weapon. No, the weapon grew with you as you went up, as you became more powerful.
In Greek mythology, that this crops up as well. When Perseus gets the sword to cut off Medusa's head, in some versions of the myths, That's Kronos' Harpe blade that he used to dethrone his father.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the fact of getting handed down weapons, it's not new.
No,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be.
No.
It should be kind of a thing that I've talked about in gaming. That once your character gets to a certain age, it's over for him, but it's not for his kid. And you can, unless the father king is still out there, roaming around
Get to
doing.
10 and start again, boys.
Yep. Hand it off to your kid and let him continue the family legend, the legacy, as it were. But most DMs are like, nope, you can't do that because they start out
Let
first
your
level character with a +5 Vorpal sword. Yeah, we're not having that.
let your lame let your 10th level fighter grow old and be domaining it up and conquering other territory. And
Well,
then
see, the real point of that is that sword should be in +1 in your child's hands until he begins to. It should grow with the character, not that immediately keeps that whole power. And that's the problem that
yeah,
I
it
have.
has to prove he has to prove
I can
himself.
see why you would say that, but if Elric had survived the novel and had a kid and handed Stormbringer off to him, I don't think it'd be +1.
Well, it depends on how long he left Stormbringer in a vault for, and it kind of got tired.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's like, I'm done with you. I'm going to put you away for
Yeah,
now.
right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
I mean,
and the
look,
first
Then we
Stormbringer
get
was
back to the
literally...
curse.
Look at where Elric found Stormbringer. In a dilapidated house that he had to pass through a sphincter to get it.
yeah, that was
No.
So many...
In the version I got, it was gifted to him during his naming ceremony to his elven father. His elven father had it walled up in a section of the castle.
No. Stormbringer from Elric, not in.
Oh, sorry. I forgot what the sword is called in this book, so I just presumed that's what you're talking about. Sorry.
Oh, no. I'm talking about... I'm from Elric, yeah.
But notice the sword has to be re-enchanted by the creator for it.
It has to be reforged.
But that was partially because it was broken in half.
Yeah.
Well,
when I looked at that kind of idea, like, wouldn't it be? It is kind of a shame when PCs like in D&D just like loop it back to that. When their magic items break, they just go, oh well. They don't think, why? Can I get it fixed?
Well, usually because the DM kind of planned it to
Token
break.
to take it away from you. Yeah.
That's been the traditional kind of
Hey,
underlying
people.
assumption. Because as soon as a DM starts bringing out the item breakage rules, the players are like, oh, okay, we see what you're doing.
Great.
Otherwise,
but
otherwise it should happen from day one.
Yes, but to be fair, that was intentional for Gygax to prevent all these magic weapons just completely taking over, as well as, hey, these things break. I mean,
What's
you
up,
look
DM?
at stuff.
You're absolutely right, Omen. But in my experience, the DM didn't start pulling those rules out like at the beginning of the game. Like every time something like that happened, he's like flipping to that page. Instead, it was like, oh, what am I going to do? Oh, that's right, I remember this rule. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, they play the DMs went in the opposite direction, whereas Gygax implemented the rules to maybe
from the beginning.
Yeah, essentially the DMs almost like didn't plan far enough ahead like Gygax did, and kind of let shit get out of hand and went panic button mode and just blew it all up.
Well, I'm going to bring up another part too, which is when you're low level, you're not fighting monsters powerful enough to break most of your equipment.
Yeah,
there's
basically
you're fighting
rust monsters, certain like oozes.
Yes, but I'm referring to the fact that there's a big difference if you're fighting a giant and he hits your magic shield, and then just having a
goblin.
Versus a bunch of kobolds and goblins and giant spiders.
That's
fair. That's fair. I can see that.
Because the other part is when you're higher level, you begin to get a lot of magic items pretty commonly. So at that point, it makes sense to start breaking them. So then players really do appreciate and the more powerful the magic item is, the better the bonus throw as well. But yeah, it was intended to be like, okay, I got my cloak, I used it for a certain time, I got hit by a fireball or something, it caught on fire, I'll have to use another cloak. But you don't generally encounter fireballs at first level normally.
No, and the thing is, you should the thing is, I have no problem taking away magic items, but I also have no problem with players wanting to go, well, can we fix them? It's like, yeah, sure. It'll cost you money and time, but you can do it. I'm going to stop you. I have no problem just randomly, I have no problem with players, say, meeting up with a high level, like a 5th level fighter who has like a +2 sword, +4 versus orcs that glows in the dark. At if they're only 2nd level, I don't care. If they randomly meet up with the guy dies and they have the sword. So I let them take it.
Yeah.
Well, but see, this is where I like it, which is I'd say, guess what? In every 4 levels, you get that +1 until it maxes out. I would rather see some of 3 levels, because it's like, look, one is the weapon doesn't inherently unbalance the game, but then the other part is it's still worth having because it's going to improve with you. So you're not just going to use oh, look, it's another +2 sword, and you throw it behind you
but I've done that, Homan, and believe it or not, it tends to feel very
favoritism-ish.
Not just that, but a little too superhero-ish. You know what I mean?
I suppose.
You know what I mean? That you've got this, and you're never going to have another one. This is just it. You're never going to find another one because this is like destined to be your Excalibur.
Well, again, this comes down to with when we're talking about the axe. Guess what? You are making the axe magical. The axe isn't inherently got maxed out at the very beginning, which is the whole point of what I was trying. Going through. The other part is if you have it in there, it doesn't, and you allow breakage and a few other things. One is players aren't just throwing weapons away, but it also says, okay, at times when we're talking about Lord of the Rings, when they break what is it? The
Knife Steel?
Yeah. Well, the sword that Aragorn has. Guess what?
Knife Steel, which
but it had been broken. No one had repaired it before that for thousands of years. Because it wasn't. The important part is, and I want to say this as far as when you go through the classic, James Earl Jones, The Riddle of Steel. It's not the steel.
R.I.P. R.I.P. James Earl Jones.
Yes, exactly. But it's not the but the Riddle of Steel it's the hand that wields it, and that's what I want to emphasize whenever I do a game is the player matters more than the equipment. And all too often as in D&D is, oh, I lost my equipment. Well, if you know that your equipment can break a lot, then you kind of go, okay. Same thing with Magic Shield.
Yeah, I think it works better if the DM starts using those rules and really thinks about it from the very beginning, so that it doesn't seem heavy-handed later on by reminding them. But it's a lot of work to keep track of. Oh, well, you need to replace your chainmail, or your chainmail broke, or like you were saying about the cloak. It becomes everything's now got hit points, and I've been in games like that, like Palladium, and it just makes it really, really overly complicated. Whereas,
I would just on that show.
Everything in role-playing games is far, far too destructible. It breaks the realism from the games.
Well,
in my opinion,
destructible or indestructible?
Destructible. They break too easily. Your swords are made out of plasticine, for fuck's sakes.
No. My view on this is, and people forget about this, is when you start looking at the swords. Remember when we watched Duran? Swords break a lot more often than we ever put them out.
They break, but they're also maintainable, and that's something that is never given the option or understanding in games. Same with armor.
It's like this when you're dealing with breakages, you're looking at increments of 5% because it's always done on a 20-sided die, which means it's going to break a lot more often than it would. You should get hundreds, if not thousands, of swings against an opponent before it's even getting any sort of hairline fractures and things like that.
Unless it's poorly made. But then still with armor, it's okay, you've gotten damage to your chainmail. Well, chainmail's one of the easiest things to fucking repair. Why is it
you're missing 2 points here. One is you should be making saving throw rolls when you meet something that's very big, not just every hit. That's one.
Yeah.
That's the problem is that people are doing it. Either they never use it, or they use it all the time, rather than saying, "Guess what? Your sword's not going to break against the average goblin unless it's not going to break against the average goblin." But guess what? When you start fighting that stone giant, every time you hit,
or you're beating your sword, like even your +1 sword, against the surface of a stone golem. Yeah, your sword's probably going to chip a little bit.
Yeah,
but again, part of that was. But again,
hey, what's up, Raven?
That it should be only in those instances where it makes sense that what you're fighting will destroy it, or whatever you're encountering will destroy it. It's not that you should be using it for every damn hit, because that to me is just stupid. But it should be the point of it. And again, other systems do this much better than D&D. But that's why you say crushing blow. Crushing blow is not because, hey, I'm swinging, two knights are swinging at each other the entire time.
Right.
Blow because guess what? That troll with the Tetsubo is bashing you with it, and you're trying to block it with your shield. That's when you should start rolling it. Hey, you need an 18 or 18 00 or a 19 strength of whatever you're fighting, and then we'll start talking about damaging versus crushing blow. Same thing I felt with fire. It's not the basic fire that's coming in like, oh, I'm using the torch. No.
It's explosion.
Yeah, or fireball, or magic fire, or something, burning oil from a siege weapon or something like that. Versus, you brushed in front of a candle and suddenly you're on fire.
And the other point is that also makes those epic battles much more at stake kind of thing. It's like, oh well, we're going to fight a dragon. Well, guess what? He might melt your armor or destroy it, even if you survive the flames. You're like, well, I don't want to have to get into that. Or the same thing with the black dragon and stuff like that. You're like, okay, but it should not be affected. Again, the other thing is you don't want to slow down the game so much that you're using it every time. But man, it makes those battles more epic when you go, not only could I die, I could lose all my magic items, even if I don't die. You're like, oh, okay, then maybe I'll think about it.
So instead of asking, least favorite character, because I think we kind of got an idea of that. What was the thing about this book you liked the most that you transfer over to an RPG if you were going to do so? I'm going to start with Justin. Keep going around clockwise so I don't lose track.
It would make a general good single player campaign. But beyond that, I don't know. Like everything in this is kind of already in games from what I see. Like the magic weapon that can influence you, people have done that. The god connections, people do that. The love interests are a little more like, do you want to role play your main character having a reoccurring tryst with either his love puppet or his sister? No, probably not.
Hopefully not.
Well, I don't know. If it was Shadow and it was his brother, he'd probably be down with that.
Oh, dude, so good. You have no idea how much I just.
Wow, what an amazing comeback there.
You don't get the joke, bro. Don't worry about it.
It's the gay porn thing.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know if you have, but as far as I'm aware, Shadow's the only one here that's produced gay porn.
What?
Seriously?
You don't know?
How do you not know the story?
I think you guys are fucking with me. We're gonna move on.
I'll tell you later, buddy.
Omen, what's
it's a funny story?
Omen, what is your answer to Shadow's question?
Oh, well, I would take a couple of things. One is I would make, but it depends on. We all talk about D&D, but I'm like, okay, I have a lot more systems than D&D. D&D is very Tolkien-esque. if you look at some of the things, like if you're going to talk like Simbarum, where the elves are much more similar. I like the fact that I would add a lot more of the fairies in there. Very similar to Changeling, the Dreaming, and the guess what? You're an elf. You can't use steel weapons. You can't use certain weapons. You can only now you have to start using bronze, or you have to start using other.
Well, they had all the other alloys and things that they mentioned.
Plus alloys humans don't understand yet.
Yeah.
Like the one that I had specifically said at the beginning, they are not necessarily more technologically advanced, but they are more material advanced than humans because they can't use iron. So they've had to have other metals that could equal or some very rare cases surpass iron.
Especially being so much older.
But again, it's not easily replenishable for number one.
Yeah.
And it does.
And the dwarves have to make it.
You know, it's like, okay, guess what? That sword that you had broke. Either you have to use a different type of weapon, or you have to. The other part is, again, vulnerability to iron would mean that, guess what? Your character takes an extra D6 points of damage every time they get hit by a steel weapon. And if they face a cleric, that they could get turned. This starts coming down to like, well, wait a minute, you know? Instead of going, oh, I just want this. You're like, well, there's a lot of drawbacks to this. That said is, you get the old D&D, which is you're a fighter magic user. But you can't use, and this is where I know that Seto was like, well, why don't they have clerics? They don't have clerics because they don't have any divine connection. You know, that's the other part. A lot of people, you know, if you're doing BX, well, they should have clerics. They don't have a divine connection. How do you become?
They don't have a soul.
Exactly. So there's a lot of
it's in the mythology. It's in the
if you were playing in this world, yes, but most of the D&D books I'm familiar with, the elves had gods. Therefore, in order to have gods, the way I normally see that sort of thing working, you have to have followers to be a god. Therefore, you have to have clerics to be a god.
No.
RPG Exile.
But you don't need clerics to have followers.
What's up?
I mean, that's the whole point. Is you can still have followers regardless if you have clerics. The other thing.
The gods exist outside mortal worship. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. The point being is
that's the way you want to run it.
Is again, you're trying to like, well, this is the way I'm saying. If you look at the historic aspect, is well, why? And we're talking about BX.
Right off the bat, you already know I never look at historical.
I know, and that's part of the thing when you start going through that you get. Like, well, it's not like the way I like it. Yeah, that's why we're reading the Appendix N to understand all the background.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I'm learning why.
As kids, I'll be honest. Most of these books we're reading, with the exception of John Carter, I have not read ever. You know, and now you go back, and you're like, oh, that's where he got it from. Oh,
yeah, it's the same with me. The only appendix that I read was Lovecraft for a long time, and then I started delving into the other stuff, and it's like, that's why they did this.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense. It's like, why can barbarians climb like thieves? Because Conan climbed the Tower of the Elephant. Yeah.
That's the only reason. Not a good reason, in my opinion.
Well, it's more than that. He climbed.
Well, whether you think it's a good reason or not, it is a reason.
Yes, that is true.
Conan's
a fighter anyway, so.
Well, and you have to look at, like I said, I look at a lot of BX stuff and we go, okay, because that's where you say, well, why don't they have these other classes? Because why would you? And you're not a thief. That's not part of their culture. And then you say, okay, but they also don't have gods to worship because they don't get.
Thief is a culture.
Yes. At least in California, it is.
Again, that doesn't mean you can't steal crap. It just means you don't get all those special thief abilities. And I think that's all too often that happens a lot of times once we started at non-weapon proficiency, you could always climb. You just couldn't climb pure vertical surfaces. There were certain things in there that would say, "Oh, that's the thief," but there was nothing saying if you couldn't climb a tree. We just took that as if you can't climb, why could I climb a tree? You could always climb a tree. You just can't do the
because all the thief abilities are supernatural.
Yeah,
All of
almost.
them.
Yeah, effectively. Yeah.
Well, that's not almost. Like, the fact that it's called move silently, it's not that the thief is moving quietly. It's that he's not making any sound when he moves. Because he's moving silently.
Yeah, a lot of those abilities are OP. You know, instead of it being just
Yeah, but remember,
as
they're
I said,
tied to the
no,
thief. So...
well, no, like across the game, right? There's a lot of like bonus things that instead of just giving you a slight perk, they are like
all or nothing.
Yeah, supernaturally.
No, that's just because the game is supernatural. But anyway.
Yeah, but you know, even when you're not supposed to have magic, they come off like.
Well, I mean, the thief was based off magic users anyway. I'm not even saying that to be dismissive. The guy who created them based them off the magic user. So,
yeah,
you know. But anyway, the what I would take from this game, since I'm going to start a new Swords of Wizardry campaign in the new year with a bunch of GMs. My region is kind of this. To be fair, it's basically the Romans trying to conquer / Christianize this barbarian Gallic region anyway. So I'm going to be taking directly the conflict from the elves and the trolls as some of the enemy factions that they have to deal with. I really did like that. I'm probably also going to take the changelings. I really like that. They're I like the fact that the changeling character is described as wolf-like, very unambiguously. He's not just evil; he's almost predaciously evil.
Cunning.
You know, yeah. He's just like, obviously there is moments where he shows remorse, but to be perfectly honest, he shouldn't have those. If he's as described in the book that he doesn't have a soul, why would he ever feel any kind of remorse for anyone ever? Even his supposed family. It just doesn't make sense. But
he did feel remorse.
He did. He felt bad. He felt bad when he buried one of his sisters after killing her. But then he immediately walks that back.
But he took her back to the church.
Yeah, and buried her. But then he immediately walks that back, and I'm like, he wouldn't feel anything because he's the kind of guy who, by his own admission, takes women by force and has put many people to the sword and feels no pain and enjoys hurting other children because they're weaker than him. He's not a good person, so he shouldn't feel remorse for the things he does.
So like, no. Just because you're not a good person doesn't mean you can't feel remorse for certain.
Yeah, but he is described as a creature without a soul. He shouldn't have a conscience.
Well, no. The thing where this comes back to is that they were too family to him, and they show later on the Troll King has a deep connection to his daughter. Such a deep connection, he could not stand. Yes, it's could be exceedingly evil, but so deep a connection, he could not stand seeing her be insane. He had her put down. But he tried very hard to get her to respond.
Yeah, but remember, but the Troll King does have a soul. He does. He does have a soul, though. That's kind of the thing. At least I think, or at least it's implied that because of his nature, he can feel empathy. But they literally said, "You are neither elf nor troll. You're just this abomination. You're going to have no afterlife." That's what the witch tells him in no uncertain terms.
But that's all the fairies. None of them have an afterlife. That's the whole point.
Yes, that's fair.
I mean, and again, remorse is just because what it reminds me of. If you're going to talk about remorse, it reminds me a lot of Frankenstein, where he beats, oh, woe is me, even though he does a lot of evil and kills people. I felt like Valgard was like Frankenstein in my opinion.
I really need to read Frankenstein, to be honest. I really need to read it.
But it's kind of the thing that
it's a good comparison. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. So,
fair enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
So crafting. What would you be taking away from this?
Excuse me.
Not so much taking away from as using to expand my elves. My elves were already, basically neo-Nazis. And kind of leaned towards this attitude in their aloofness anyway, and I'm just going to heavily more lean into that. They live for thousands of years, and they there are a lot of things that humans would consider disgusting or immoral or wrong that they're just like, oh yeah, I did that because I was bored.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I've actually gotten into conversations with a lot of people that like how the dark elves behave in D&D is how normal elves should be, and the dark elves should actually be even worse than that.
I can see that. That sort of segues into what I'm going to take away from this. Normally, in our games, evil is really two-dimensional and somewhat linear in what their plans are
Yeah.
and how they act. They're the very stereotypical mustache twirling, snidely whiplash. You can see their plans coming a mile away.
I think that's very common across like new wave
Myth.
fantasy.
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons why I like the Sword of Truth so much, is because the evil is actually doing evil in the world. Which you don't get a lot from like Wheel of Time or
I mean,
Even
Shannara or
Tolkien,
whatever.
for example,
But
it's very
yeah,
one.
it's environmentalist evil. Like Tolkien was like proto environmentalism.
mm,
That's in his he was anti-industrialism, bro.
Right.
Yes,
yeah,
yeah,
but
but
environmentalism is a very modernist and charged term.
The
He
yes,
just didn't
and
like industrialism.
you should take that as like its roots, though, right? Anti-industrialism is where that comes from,
Maybe.
and
But remember, environmentalism is
it's reasonable.
communistic anyway, so
well,
I mean,
here's
it is.
No, it isn't.
a lot of industrialism. When you start looking at it, was meant to be, it was removing the human being from it. Not that all these things were good anyway, but he was trying to, anyway. When you look at it, and I don't blame him. Everyone talked about the wonders of science and how it was improving everyone's life, and then you got World War I and World War II, which
Yeah.
flipped it on its head for a lot of the things of, oh, this science is being used for evil. Whereas
Uh,
before, if you like watch some of the stuff, it's like, oh, this will bring us to a new and enlightened age, which is what it was supposed to do. And instead, you
And
had
then we dropped
industrialized
2
murder.
hydrogen bombs on someone, and that kind of put a damper on things.
Well, it was industrialized murder as far as when you're looking at like concentration camps and everything else. It started
Yeah, the
to
machine gun,
industrialize, yeah.
yeah,
Not the
there
machine
was
gun
like
so much, yeah. The artillery and everything else. Notice like the
mustard gas
romanticism,
and
yeah.
oh boy.
Yeah,
Tanks and things like that.
but the
Yup.
romanticism of war, which is always funny, but the romanticism of war disappeared after World War One.
Well,
I mean,
to be fair, in large part, the romanticism war was it could be understood because it wasn't anywhere near as horrific,
yeah.
because because at least in the olden days, you had the chance to run away from your enemy without them mowing you down and shooting you in the back.
Well, historically, and a lot of people don't realize this, historically, the actual casualty rates were far higher then than they were during the World War One or since World War One. But the problem when I say romanticism is that it was always this grand, glorious charge. Which, to be fair, anyone that reads the Civil War books knows that that's a complete fallacy anyway. But if you actually read, like the war during the Civil War, that was very similar, but there was a lot of romanticism about the whole thing. The charge of the Light Brigade, there's a lot of it in
The
there.
Wind Hussars and all this other stuff.
Well, and that was the oh look at the flower of nobility, which they never focused on the peasants that were run down by the knights and cut down and trampled on the horses' hooves. But but the romanticism disappeared from a lot of that after World War One. And that's where Tolkien came in. Is whatever romanticism of war was, that was completely out of it, and that was part of whether he had the orcs or things like that from Saruman. It's like, okay, we're trying to fight against good, but what is Tolkien's ideal? It's the Shire. It's a
Where there
nice
is no war. It's this almost like Garden of Eden, where everything is almost timeless and it's perfect.
right. But anyway, sorry. Let's go back to our whole discussion here.
So back to what I was saying. I'm going to try to make my villains a little more three dimensional in their evil, not just that one thing or their one overriding scheme. They're going to have these little subtle overflows of additional evil, additional examples of their evil. Um, you make the flesh them out and show more
They're,
depravity, I guess,
they're
instead of just the one thing or they're hiding behind goodness. Well, let's like say you've got an evil NPC that's pretending to be good. Well, let little clues seep out that hey, most good people wouldn't be doing that sort of thing, and see if the players pick up on it.
George, we're not doing Tolkien because we've all done Tolkien at least a dozen freaking million trillion times each.
Well, I haven't read Tolkien, so
I'm going to bring
Well,
this up.
you're a
We
heretic.
decided that was
You're soulless. You have no soul.
Read some Tolkien, DK. Read some Tolkien.
Or at least watch the movies.
No.
well, I watched the movies. I just haven't read. I haven't sat down and read the books. I just haven't gotten around to it because I tried, and it was kind of hard.
Okay,
getting
so
through.
here, George, the reason that we aren't doing Tolkien is because the books are too long. That's the real reason we're not doing
And
Tolkien.
two, let's be frank, Tolkien's influence on Gygax's D&D is fairly minimal.
No. If you actually go read the White Box, it's seeped all over White Box.
Yeah,
No,
I would honestly.
it's Elsbreg de Camp and it's Conan and it's Burroughs. It's not Tolkien. It isn't. If that were true,
Let's find out by reading everybody but Tolkien, and then come back when we've
well, considering the fact that the desert region is literally called Mars, and you can meet all the different Martians in it, and you can fight Tyrannosaurus Rexes and cyborgs. I don't remember seeing many Daleks going around the Silmarillion. If you know what I'm saying.
No, DK, you're trying to do this. I'm sorry, but if you have halflings and Ents, the reason that Gygax got so pissed off is he got sued, and that's why he was pissed off.
Yeah, but that's one thing. Like you have elves and dwarves and hobbits and orcs. That's like one. It's like one tiny aspect of it. That's it. I fundamentally don't agree.
The ranger in AD&D, because Dungeons and Dragons was more AD&D than it was.
To be fair, that was a fan submission. Gygax didn't invent that. That was a fan submission.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was in a magazine. He didn't create it. It was a fan submission. The player who made it based it off the paladin.
The whole point is
that ranger is so
as in the template. He wanted to make a paladin but better, so he looked to the paladin and gave it extra stuff. Yeah.
Okay, because if you examine the AD&D ranger, that is
the fact that it can use scrying and clairvoyance, it has some clerical spells, and it can attack orcs and stuff. I know that. I just forgot about the ranger. That was my bad.
Well, no, wait a minute. The whole point of this, though, is the real reason, George, is because the only book you could read is The Hobbit, and we were trying to avoid, to be fair, and this is my fault, we've gone up to 300 pages, whereas before we were trying to use short stories, but sometimes we can't use short stories for this. But if you read Lord of the Rings, that's 1,000+ pages, and that no, we're not doing that. We
literally have to take off 6 weeks, like our writing show.
Yeah. Because we couldn't just read A Fellowship of the Ring. We'd have to do the whole trilogy, and it's like, nah.
Yeah, not to mention, everybody out there has done Tolkien. Every other channel, every other YouTuber that's in this hobby has done it, and I myself have done it on 2 different shows. So it may be later on down the road when we've done everybody else. Maybe we could grab
as a farewell. We do the Tolkien books
before we start submitting our own additions to the Appendix A.
Nice.
Okay. I mean, if you're going to do it, it's going to be The Hobbit, because I don't want to have to read all 3 books again. So.
I won't do it. Yeah, I'm so not in the mood to read those again.
You can just watch the
I've literally,
movies. Close enough.
Yeah.
I've literally read The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit more than a dozen times, and I don't have any great desire to do so ever again. I got it
Also,
down.
I think I write better than Tolkien.
Oh, do you call me the heretic? You call me the heretic?
You haven't read any of my writing, bro.
Yeah, and you know what? You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm not gonna put much stock in your boastful, arrogant claim. I'm just gonna say.
I don't know.
Hey.
You can ask Shadow. Mr. Scruffles was a great character.
Okay.
I knew that's what you're talking about.
Let me
Not
guess.
the
While
other
his girlfriend pegged him, he sucked off his own ball sack.
That's the sequel.
Yeah, that's the sequel.
No, wait a minute, DK.
Justin's a pretty good writer there, DK.
What were you saying there, Shadow? Omen?
No. The point, DK, really comes down to this. He rewrites the story just like Bilbo rewrote the Hobbit to make the dwarves look incompetent. It's the same way that he's doing that.
Believe it or not,
It's
DK.
true. If you go back and read it, you begin to realize that Bilbo completely downplayed Thorin Oakenshield and stuff, who was a complete badass when you read the appendices, and yet he comes off as the most bumbling, one of the most bumbling characters in the book. You're like, wait a minute, this guy was a freaking badass 50 years before he went to go get Smaug, fighting in the mines of Moria kind of thing. It's like, oh.
But remember, he also retconned the elves as well, apparently, from what I've heard. So it's like, that's nothing new.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, yeah, but Bilbo is doing this when it's first person. Remember, it's the Hobbit, and he was making himself appear so much better than everyone else in the story. Which, to be fair, is great. If I love characters that do this, if the player decides to write the story for the book and he downplays what actually happened in the adventure, I find it hilarious as a dungeon master, and you get extra.
To loop it back to another book that we did, the Amber Chronicles. Corwin does the same thing. Mm-hmm. He lies about damn near everything that happens.
A non-reliable narrator.
Yeah. I like that.
I would say a duplicitous lying
narrator. That's the actual technical term, a non-reliable narrator.
Yeah,
fair
unreliable narrator is, and to be fair, is even in the like Warhammer does this for their bestiary, their Imperial.
Yeah.
I think it's called Imperial Zoo. No, the Imperial Zoo book. It's an unreliable narrator, but then it has all the stats. So
it's just whenever I hear unreliable narrator, I always hear someone who either misunderstood something or just didn't have all the facts. I never associated with malice, but that's just because I've never encountered it maliciously.
Sometimes it's just somebody that is like blowing smoke up their own
ass. Yeah, fair enough.
Or it's just like, this is my point of view, and it's colored through that perspective. Or
like Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah. It could be anywhere from just like, I'm leaving out shit I didn't really see, to I'm just making up like
bullshit.
Yeah. I hit on this one chick at the bar. It becomes, I went home with 4 chicks, and we had to go through.
The hooker gave me back the money.
Yeah, totally.
Sure.
But
I literally knew a guy. I knew a guy who actually said that once.
A perfect example of an unreliable narrator also is for D&D was the Van Richten guides for the 2E.
Okay.
I mean, when we and that's because you have the little sidebars that talk about stuff, but if the players read the book, that still doesn't tell them exactly what the monster does or its weaknesses or anything else. It's like,
it's colored by his own perspective, essentially.
But again, that's, and that they do the same thing with the Warhammer bestiary right now. It's called Imperial Zoo. They do the same thing. They give you the stats so the DM can stat it out. But if you read the description next to it, it's kind of hints at things and says, oh, well, it could get this. And get to build what it says in there, but it doesn't give you everything that it could do, which I always enjoy.
This is in the fantasy. This is in the tabletop, yeah? The fantasy role play? Or are you talking about
it's the 4th edition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's see. But yeah,
All right, moving on to the next question, maybe the last question, depending on how that works out. Would you recommend this to anybody? And I'm going to make it a two-parter. Are you interested in reading any more of this author's work because of how you felt about this particular book?
I'll go first. Yeah, I'll read more of this author's work because it's on the list mainly. But I wouldn't mind seeing this required reading in every
High
classroom.
school.
No, grade 2.
Oh, fair enough.
Great.
Yeah. I'm sure showing horrific, talking about horrific rape and incest is something that like fucking 10-year-olds should be reading about. Totally.
Kids used to have stronger stomachs. They used to be exposed to stuff that made them less sensitive and little prissy bitches. Remember, Beetlejuice, the original, was PG, not PG-13, just PG.
But I'm gonna reiterate the kind of things that I said. Incest and rape were never something shown in PG films, dude.
No, but they were actually maybe not the incest, but the rape was definitely in the Bible, and that was for a long time the only book.
There's examples of incest in the Bible, usually bad ones.
Yeah.
Usually causing the birth of monsters of some kind.
Yeah, like if I remember correctly, it was with Sodom and Gomorrah. Who survived that? Can't remember his name. It was
Lot.
Lot. Thank you. That was it. Lot. Like, didn't his two daughters get him blasted and like because the world like they needed to continue the family line or something like that?
He turned his daughters out to the crowd to be gang raped because
Okay, take care.
Yeah, that wasn't a good thing that he did.
But yeah, his wife turned back to look at the city, and she turned to a pillar of salt.
Yeah, because I told him not to do it.
I never read that, George. Sorry, guys, I never read that, George. But yeah, Justin's point is a little tongue in cheek, I think, but at the same time, not so much in the fact that maybe waiting until they're 14, but just because the way the world is now. But at some point, we veered off into coddling everybody versus preparing them for the wicked shit that's out there.
Raven, I'm pretty sure his wife turned to a pillar of salt.
Pillar of salt. Well, I mean, salt is stone, but no, it is a pillar of salt. Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you from my Bible verses from as a child, it's salt.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a good comedy that makes fun of that at some point.
But anyway,
for the world's biggest salt lick. Is that where you're going there?
Pretty much. The whole joke is, oh, my suit's not good enough, so he goes over to the pillar of salt, scrapes some salt off her boob, tastes the soup. Oh, that's pretty good.
What was the question again? Would I recommend this?
Salt. It'll taste like clams.
Anyway, would I recommend this? And what was the other part of this?
Would you recommend this? And are you interested in reading more from this author anytime soon?
I would recommend this with the caveat: if you're interested in more mythological stories, yes. For people who like pulp or short stories, I don't know. You have to really like Norse myth, I'd say, at least from what I can gather. Now, I liked it, but I could understand why it'd be a hard sell. Because even when I was going into this, when I was reading this, I didn't know this was going to be Norse. Because I read a bit of Three Hearts and Three Lions, and that's more of a medieval kind of storytelling. And then
is it more like an Arthurian tale?
Yeah, basically the guy, I think, from what little I've read, basically he's fighting the Nazis and he gets shot in the head and gets portaled. Like he goes to another realm essentially as this knight. Yeah, I might call it Portal Fantasies because
you're white.
Because Portal Fantasies are better. I'm sorry. Eat shit, isekai.
It's the same thing, you know that, right?
I know, but isekais have all the Japanese isms in them, and I'm getting really tired of them. But
Yeah.
anyway, the essentially, yeah, he gets sent to another realm, and he finds a horse, and he basically starts going through and becoming a very chivalric knight. It's where we get the idea of the paladin from, to be honest. So of
I
course
thought
it's
it
going
was
to be
Charlemagne.
Arthurian. It might be, but well, Charlemagne's a part of it. That's more of like the second ed kind of stuff. But it really is Three Hearts and Three Lions in first edition,
Okay.
really. All right, even in Greyhawk actually, because it was in OD&D. But
Okay.
regardless, would I? Like I said, I am interested in continuing reading Three Hearts and Three Lions, so I am interested in reading more of the stuff. I am.
Okay.
So
And recommending it, you said if you knew someone who was,
big on myth, yeah, I would. It is because this kind of storytelling is a hard sell for a lot of people just more used to modern storytelling. I'm like, yeah.
right, right. I could definitely see a lot of people quitting halfway through it.
Oh yeah, very easily,
Uh,
very easily.
crafting. How about you?
Uh, what I read? Well, I got nothing against the way it was written. So overall, I'd read from this author again. I mean, it's just not my kind of story overall. But I've already learned as being an amateur author, each story can be very different from the last.
Mm.
So going back and reading more of his stuff is definitely on the table. As for recommending it, much like Dark Knight, I don't know anybody who would be that interested in it, and if I do, I would. But yeah.
Okay. Well, for me, I actually I was, like I said, this book was a bit of a journey, not just the book itself, but my opinions changed drastically as I was listening to it, and I don't know if that had something to do with the audio narrator being so freaking talented. Um, this guy, the version Justin and I listened to, he is one of the best narrators we've listened to. I think doing the
Yeah.
male voices that didn't all sound the same, doing male voices in different accents and different styles and things like that. You could easily tell what character he was. You know, who they all have their own unique voices. This guy probably ran through what, like 20 different voices, Justin.
If not more.
I think so.
And
That's about right.
you guys know I'm not a big mythology fan, but I feel like I learned so much more reading this one book about a couple of different types of mythology than I had learned from reading the deities and demigods book multiple times as a kid. I got more of a feel for these characters like Lou and
Odin,
yeah, but I was trying to remember the character that I liked the most. Manon, I think it was his name. The
Man, yeah.
I'm actually going to go look through my deities and demigods book after the show and go through the Celtic and Norse mythologies again and look at the stats and things like that. I'm definitely, even his writing style, there were parts that it was like really annoying for me. Uh,
Mm.
Overly purple prosy and overly descriptive. I'm like, looking at my watch, like, hey, can we speed it up here? I got shit to do. Can we, get to the thing? But at the same time, he's a well respected author going back decades of work. So, even Three Hearts, Three Lions, or whatever else is in the actual appendix, when we get to it, I won't have that same feeling of like, I don't think I'm gonna like this. The preconceived notions. Now, would I recommend it? That's what I'm doing here right now. I don't know anybody in real life who I'd be like, here, read this. Like my son's D&D friends. This wouldn't be the book I would hand them because we get phone calls from their parents later on. What are you doing handing my kid this book? Um,
Yeah.
there are
I
other
will.
there are
I
other
will tell you. I will say to you that Three Hearts and Three Lions is written in a more modern style as well. So, from what I've read of it,
Yeah.
anyway. So
so
it's a
maybe
lot.
maybe that'll suit my taste of getting more to the point a little
Yeah.
quicker. I don't mind some good descriptions, but some of them were just like, okay, I bet that was like a half a page telling me this one description that I didn't need. I would rather leave it to my imagination. That's one of the things I like about reading so much.
That's the thing with ancient myth you're going to notice, except for the Greeks. A lot of the other pagan sources will spend a long time describing one thing and then move on, like to the guy who uses it, and then like 3 lines later he immediately dies. They go backstory, and on who this important character is to explain why he's related to the main character, and then shortly thereafter the main character like dies. This happens all the time.
Yeah,
it's weird.
That's generally considered bad form these days. Like,
well, because remember they're chronicling the ancestry of kings, so they either fabricated it, which is possible, or they're going from disparate stories that were oral traditions. So so it's going to be a lot of stuff gets embellished. This happens. So like the Druids wrote nothing down, so they had to speak it all. So of course things are going to get added in. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
The game of telephone strikes again.
Yep.
Love telephone.
Yeah, like nobody knows that at the very beginning, the Odin figure was actually Shadow. He just wore an eye patch.
Yeah, Shadow eventually learned to go back in time. He learned how to do really good badass HEMA.
No. He's been around since back then. That's the lore of the show. But the eye patch wasn't there either. That's also broken telephone.
Really, I could have swore it was in the deity's book that he had but one eye.
He had one eye, but he didn't always wear an eye patch. That's the thing. He just had one eye.
No.
He
You
gouged
wearing
it out.
an eye patch back then is something that was embellished.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say I just grew it back.
Shadow doesn't have eyes.
Right.
It's an illusion.
Anyway.
But yeah, I'm definitely going to go through this after the show. This is my beat up copy.
I'm so jealous. I'm so bloody jealous, Shadow.
My mom bought me this when I was 14.
Does it have the Cthulhu and Melniboné and stuff in it?
Yeah, and I've got a better copy than this, but I always go to my childhood copies.
Are you sure? I didn't know they had books back then.
Yes, we got it from a place called Gemco. For those of you out there, you remember Gemco? Throw something in the comment section. I have.
The best part about that name? It sounds like something from the Flintstones, so it sounds ancient. Gemco.
Copyright strike.
It was one of your first.
Too tiny. YouTube isn't gonna notice him.
For our area, it was a chain store. It was the first membership store back in the 70s. You had to have a card to get in, and it had everything in it. Everything from a pharmacy to a grocery store to furniture. It was a weird time, and I'll never forget the day that I was literally in the toy section and looking at this book, and my mom's like, "Oh, you want a book?" I'm like, "Yeah, can I get this?" It's like, "Oh, of course." And it was just, it would have taken me 3 to 4 weeks of mowing the lawn to be able to afford it and get it on my own, and it was it was a big deal.
Yeah. It's a very bad parent that won't buy their kid a book.
Well, it was a $15 book versus the $2, paperback that I would normally get every time we went shopping. So it was kind of like a big deal. It would be like,
RPG books cost $15 back then.
Yep.
Yeah, they've always been inflated in price.
No, not $15. 15 pretty rocks.
Do I need to pull out the copyright date, the print
date? And they weren't even like gems or anything like that.
It was just quartz.
It's just like, this rock is slightly green colored.
No. What he did was he was paid in salt, so he just gave it over to his fellow legionnaire in exchange.
They hadn't figured out what salt was yet, bro.
That's what Roman legionnaires were paid in. Of course they knew what salt was.
I don't think you get how old we're claiming Shadow is.
Yeah,
he was drawing things on cave walls with his feces.
The running joke.
He's the one who invented rock on a stick.
What is rock? What is stick?
Exactly.
DK. We've got a lot of running jokes about one another. You really should hang out with us.
No. We got a lot of running jokes about you.
I will. I do have to make it a habit, so I'll try and make the next one. I promise.
Also, I DM'd you the lore behind.
I know. I saw. That's why I sniggered at one point. Jesus Christ. Or,
if you can't laugh at yourself, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Whoa, around here, we just laugh at you.
Do I need to forward him your recent story?
No, I don't. I don't need my brain to implode on itself, please.
Hey. Raven's still alive, and she read the whole thing.
No, she just read that one scene.
Dude, I love Raven. She's a sweet woman, but she reads conspiracy theories for a reason. She's already into wackadoos. So reading fucking Justin stuff is like a walk in the park.
You don't know what I write,
dude. We were just talking about you the other day. Where the hell have you been? For those of you who don't know, that is the one and only Holy Diver. Long time no see, buddy.
Nah. And just like the boomers think they're better than everyone else, I think Gen Xers have an inflated sense of their own ego.
I don't know, man.
I think every generation is insecure. Frankly, it's just the millennials and Gen Zers are honest about it.
We have our flaws. We're not shy about it, but some of those flaws, we understand made us who we are.
The generation before you was primordial ooze, so
that wasn't really a generation. That was just an
event. Really, it's
Shadow remembers when he got his legs.
Oh, hey, I was wondering. I had this. Speaking of conspiracies and stuff, I was reading this, and mind you, it's just for comedic effect. But I think after having read this book, I was thinking about how things, had children with other things that they shouldn't have. I'm wondering if what we all think are lizard people weren't actually trolls. What do you think? You think that's
honestly,
a thing
honestly, it's not the most unbelievable thing I've heard, to be honest.
Because trolls are green, lizards are green, and we're a bunch of D&D nerds. So instead of going, full conspiracy, Y-files kind of thing, I think I'm going to just start calling them trolls when we're talking about things like that.
You don't want to get your channel deleted for hate speech, bro.
Well, that way we can just call them trolls, and they'll think we're talking about internet trolls, but we'll all know that we're talking about,
Oh no, you can't hate on an internet troll. It hurts their feelings.
The royal family.
Right. They're not lizard people.
To throw you a bone, Shadow. I believe that more readily than I believe in aliens. So
There you go. What is Monster Fest, HD?
I had to take a double take on that because at first I thought he said wrote manifesto, and I was like, no, that's not how that's spelled.
It's better than what I saw. When I first saw it, I saw Monster Feet. So we're all a little dyslexic here.
Wait, no, that's not how manifesto is spelled whatsoever. I saw the M and the F and just like ran with it, right?
Which reminds me, Jack, I need to send you his manifesto soon.
No, I do not want to get arrested. I'm on too many lists as it is.
Dude, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. The way things have been going lately, it's a wonder, some of us are still allowed to even be on the internet.
Yep.
I don't know. Have you seen some of the things I've written?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a wonder you're still on the internet, allowed to walk around and breathe free air and not be in an orange jumpsuit or whatever color they use up there.
You think they put him in a cell? You think they put him in a cell block? No.
What they just chain him up to a tree in the yard?
No, they probably give him the Clinton friendship treatment.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Just disappeared.
Oh, poor Justin. Poor Justin shot himself 5 times in the back of the head. Such a shame.
Yeah, I can't picture Justin doing that ever. Don't you ever go out like that, man. None of you guys.
Oh God,
No. What's going to happen to Justin is exactly like the episode with the What If machine where Bender asked what happened if he was human. He just becomes this mountain of fat and dies.
Oh God, I never watched much Futurama, but I really should have.
That's mean, bro.
That's how I'm
But
going to
I
go out
accept
someday.
it.
I know it is.
It's how my brother's going out.
Oh God.
An expanding pile of fat.
Right. Well.
So, since we've run out of questions, we got one left. What book is it we're going to read next? And
Dream
whose turn is
Quest
it technically?
of Unknown Kadath. I'm joking. We'll save that for October.
Is it your pick? Because I know it's not mine, and I'm pretty
I'm
sure
saving it for
Well,
October.
it was technically it was my pick, but we agreed we were going to just do Lovecraftian at least 2, maybe even 3 times in 3 of them.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, my point is if it is your pick the Lovecraftian story you're most interested in reading, and I'm good. I've got them all.
Yeah, I've got
them all. I've got like a stack of like this big of extra H.P. Lovecraft paperback books I need to get rid of.
I've got like 2 massive collections and a couple of smaller collections as well of his stuff as well. So,
Let me ask Google real quick.
How would Google know whose pick it is?
No. What
I meant the
Lovecraft
list of books.
book?
Is it your pick, TCG?
Yeah.
Well, it was supposed to be, but
okay. Then pick a.
No, you pick one then.
That's fine. All my horror movie review for the month of October. I think I am in my 5th year. Okay, gotcha. That's what Monster Fest is. Cool. Are you still on YouTube? Because I have not seen Hide Nor Hair of you. I heard that you'd gone over exclusively to Rumble, which, if that's the case, then I need to hang out on Rumble more often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to watch Rumble and Odyssey more, to be honest, because
yeah,
I need to figure out a way to get this thing to dual stream over there.
Yeah, I think you got to do it manually, episode by episode, and that's a pain in the butt. Okay, Dark DK, do you have Lurker at the Threshold?
Lurker at the Threshold in the collections? I don't know, probably, but I haven't read it.
Because I it's not in. Hold on a second.
See, I have the complete text and the Necronomicon collection.
Okay, do you have this one?
Let's see here. No, I don't have that one.
Can you raise it up so we can actually see the title and not the
complete fiction? Yeah, no, I don't have that one.
That's a beautiful edition,
says it's the complete fiction, and yet it doesn't have Lurker in the Threshold. And I'm wondering if that was because it was a co-written kind of thing, or
I might have gotten the thing wrong. Let me just see. HP Lovecraft.
Yeah,
is
but
is the Necronomicon a storybook or is it just a collection of?
It's a collection.
It's a collection. It's just what they just called it, the Necronomicon edition or something like that. It's a black cover with the
Necronomicon, which is a pile of bullshit.
Well, he put it in his works a lot.
I mean is there's an actual book called the Necronomicon. It's supposed to be a spell book, and it's I've got a couple copies.
It's a made up thing.
Right. However, if you have an original 1980s hardback version, you're looking at a $2,000 book right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sold in Epic Magazine for less than $85 back then.
That's the version that I was talking about, the complete fiction version. This is the one that I have.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got it on Amazon when it was like 16 and it was like £13 sterling. It's now, I think, goes for a price tag of like 50 or 60.
Let me look it up real quick because I'm trying to figure out.
It's actually funny. I got into Lovecraft because of Fallout 3, believe it or not.
Now, Lovecraft, is everything we're going to be reading from him in that version?
Oh,
Not
okay,
necessarily.
that's why. Okay, this is why. Sorry, it is actually it's a horror novel by August Derleth based on a short fragment written by H.P. Lovecraft. Okay, that's why.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, never mind. That won't be my book.
Um. Anyway, I think
Oh,
we
sorry.
have
By the way, we
some.
don't do that.
Yeah, we do that. Anyway, so what we'll say? What should we do for next week?
We're gonna let crafting because it is his pick. We're gonna
Yeah,
give him
yeah, go for
a little time
Well,
to do some
by
research.
name. By name, I'm interested in either At the Mountains of Madness or The Shadow over Innsmouth.
it. Ooh, I have yet to read either of those, and I've been meaning to. So those are decent picks, I would say,
Okay.
for what I've heard of them.
I can tell you real quick. The Mountains of Madness is a trip to, I think it's to the Antarctic, where they
Yeah.
find stuff. It's a little slow, but unfortunately, you kind of have to read an Edgar Allan Poe story, I think, called Arthur Gordon Pym, before you understand the full meaning of the last line of the story. Um,
Right.
which it's Poe, so it's probably like 18 pages. Um,
Which is a short story.
right. Well, let me double check because I got it right here also.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I've literally had this book since I was 4 years old.
Oh man, that looks cool. Can I take a look at the cover again? I didn't see it.
It's just green.
I
It's like
love, man.
green.
No, you have no idea how much I prefer book covers like that over what the modern
Or
stuff we get is.
fabric bound. You can just
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
print off the text base and bind them
that's true.
yourself.
That is
It's not
true.
hard. It's time
Hold on.
consuming, but not
Let me
hard.
see if I can even find it. Humor and satire poems.
Bro, if you ask for a link to be sent to you again, I'll block you.
Yeah, please do. Watch him send it again just to spite you.
Uh, well, I see it 5 times here, so
I only see it four, but
yeah, I'm on. I've also got the YouTube video open.
oh, do you? Okay, let me check.
Oh, I
You
made
won't
up
see
like
it
a.
now. I've just
Oh, sorry. I made up
Oh
like a
wow,
fat
Maybe,
rat
there's
with the
maybe I
eBay
was.
purchase.
Oh,
send me the link. Send me the link. Send me the link. Send me the
send
link.
me the
Send me
link.
the link.
I have been binging an antique book dealer YouTuber. Bitcoin as well. I mean, yeah, but I actually managed to find. I didn't realize this until someone else. I think his name is Mac Thompson. He's on DM James's
uh-huh.
chat when he does
He
streams.
used to be
He
in my D&D game as well. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I said I managed to find like on Etsy the first two of the Elric saga, like part one and part two, with the old illustrated art of Elric holding Stormbringer.
Okay, never mind.
Um,
Wow, this is huge.
What the
yeah,
poem?
The narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym is like 100 pages. So, if you still want to read Mountains of Madness, it's a really good book. You could probably Google, what does he mean by a thing that he says at the end of the story.
We could just plan to do those one after the other sometime near the end of in
October.
yeah. Well, I was thinking maybe November or whatever. Whoever's picks it are.
Fair
But
And Shadow over Innsmouth is a much shorter story,
enough.
uh, uh, which is it's actually one of the few uh, actually. Uh,
iconic.
yeah, it's one of the. It's very iconic, but
I mean,
it's got like a little bit more action in it than most of his stories. It's a little more like running and chasing, which is, kind of something a little more exciting. I can't picture Lovecraft having ever ran unless he had diarrhea.
Which I might do in a minute.
Thanks for sharing.
No, but go to the bathroom. The It's the one that they've tried to turn into movie the most times.
They did. I think they did make it into a movie at one point.
It's been adapted like 3 times, bro.
Really?
Okay.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
they've been
crafting.
crappy
Just
each time.
since
but-
we're gonna, it's your pick. Find one, by doing a little bit of searching. Give us a couple of days to send the link out there or what have you, and then we can all read it, because just about anything by Lovecraft you could read in an afternoon, and having 12 more days, 13 more days than necessary will be just fine for everybody.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, what I've noticed about Lovecraft, I actually prefer his shorter stuff. Like, from what few things I have read of him,
Thanks, George.
the Rats in the Walls is probably my favorite.
Really, that's
I'll
one of
be
my
right back.
least favorites. Mostly because of how like overly popular it seems to be at the moment. I hear a lot of people talk about it, and I'm like, it was good. Don't get me wrong, but there are some that are actually a little bit more uniquely disturbing. You know what I
I
mean?
think the reason why I gravitated towards it is just it's so ambiguous as to what the rats were, and it didn't involve a mythos monster or god. It's just
Uh-huh.
here's a thing that we know nothing about.
Well, no,
And
it was,
Derleth didn't.
it was. I thought it was more about witchcraft and familiars.
Kind of like there's obviously magic going on there, but that's
Right,
like in
with
everything.
the Brown Jenkin being the familiar of the old lady kind of thing, which is fine.
Wait. There was no old lady in the Rats in the Walls.
Well, she had died, I think.
Oh, you mean one of the right? Oh, you mean one of the ancestors? Okay, I thought you meant like a character. I was like, what?
No, but she was like the Brown Jenkin was the familiar of the old lady. I forget her name.
I don't think there was a familiar in that story. I'll have to re-listen to it because I don't remember this,
Or I'm thinking of a
but
completely different story. But
you
that's
probably
fine.
are.
So
Essentially, the Rats in the Walls. A guy goes back to England to restore an old family estate
uh-huh.
that defaulted back to the crown for something. I won't spoil it, but something bad happened, and he tries to restore it. Essentially, I don't remember there
Right,
being like.
let me look that up real quick.
It's on YouTube. It's like 45 minutes long. It's not that long at all. Shows in general. Oh, nice. I will say I do like. I
That's
agree.
why it's Dreams in the Witch House. You're right.
There you go. There you go. I've not heard much people talk about Rats in the Wall, to be honest. It's why I gravitated towards
Okay.
it.
Okay. Thanks, George. Yeah, that's why I was getting it wrong, because I was thinking Dreams in the Witch House, and Dreams in the Witch House is exactly what I just said, and it could have been written by anybody, and it doesn't have that sort of you know whether it be
The
Cthulhu or
flair.
Mythos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have that distinct H.P. Lovecraft feel to it. Um, Whereas Mountains of Madness definitely does. Uh, Shadow over Innsmouth definitely does. One of my favorites is actually the Dunwich Horror. I
Oh,
like
that
that
one's
one.
so good. That
I
one's
like that
so
one because
good.
it's so much like what I picture a Call of Cthulhu game being, as opposed to everybody dies at the end or they're all in a mental institution.
Yeah.
You know how
The heroes win, but at great cost.
right, and they're not all gibbering idiots or dead or whatever. You could see if you had played through that story, you could actually play another game with the same characters, as opposed to, okay, this is a one shot basically.
Yeah, that's
One
kind of the thing that I don't like about modern, like from what I know of Call of Cthulhu, is that everyone just kind of kills off their characters per bit. And like there are rules in this game that allow you to heal sanity, so that there kind of is an implication that you're meant to try and keep your character alive.
it's kind of like that rumor of Traveler, or the misconception where your character can die in character creation. Sure, it kind of could have, but it kind of didn't have to be that way unless your referee was kind of being a
Right.
dick.
I have decided.
It's a go
You
for it.
decided, okay. Drum
I'm gonna
roll.
go with At the Mountains of. I'm gonna go without the Mountains Madness. Yeah, there's a line that we're gonna need to research for to fully understand, but it's actually I did the research. It's shorter than the Shadow of Yinzma over the
Okay.
Shadow over Innsmouth. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we're gonna do Mountains of Madness. Cool, because Peter Jackson said if he was gonna make a Lovecraft movie, that would be the one. I could see why. It's definitely, got that element of the movie The Thing to it. You could see how they were like one inspired the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're done with it, you'll be like, oh, yep, okay, I could totally see that.
Well,
Same time, it's got some other crazy shit going on that Raven, if you're listening, find At the Mountains of Madness, read it, you'll love it, and you'll want to join us.
And to make it easier, it's on YouTube. It is very likely going to have an audiobook on YouTube.
I can already give you the link.
Of all the pulp artists in the Appendix N, Conan and Lovecraft are the easiest to find. They're just so prolific. It's insane. But I will say this kind of sad we're not doing Shadow over Innsmouth since we won't get to talk about Shadow and his son in the book.
Well, it could be the next one.
Maybe we'll see whose pick it is. Because they're short stories. I don't see why we can't get through it and pick another couple of good stories before Halloween.
I put the link to the YouTube video in the book club section.
Nice.
Thank you.
Спасибо большое.
Even though I've read it a dozen times easy, I'll read it again, or I'll listen to it again on audio. It's a good one. It really is. It's another one that you could run as a game adventure, whether it be actual Call of Cthulhu or Pulp Cthulhu or any of those games, and theoretically stand a chance of playing those characters again as opposed to some of the other ones. And the more I think about it, excuse me, there are actually a number of them that don't end in abject tragedy. Your characters,
are blithering insane or paste on the side of the bakery wall.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Shadow, I got an odd question for you.
I was explaining the Whisper in the Darkness. Do you remember that one?
Crafting, you had a question for Shadow. What was it?
Oh, an odd question. Seeing whatever that box, whatever that wood was next to his camera, made me immediately think, what are the beekeeping laws for Shadow's area?
Oh no, it's just a full. It used to be a case for
Well, yeah, I didn't think it was actually a beehive, but it immediately made me think, I wonder if he's allowed to keep bees there.
I probably could. I just use it because in the morning show I do with Justin, the sun's coming in over here, and in the afternoon it's coming in over here. So I've got because I used to just use this piece of cardboard. It was not very sturdy and didn't give me enough protection from the shade, so I can actually see what's going on.
I'm gonna head off, guys. Thanks, Shadow, for convincing me to come on. It was great chatting with you guys. I'll make sure to read the. Is that the Mountains of Madness? Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. I'll read that on. I'll see you guys. Bye bye.
Have a good one, man.
At the Mountains of Madness is literally half the length of, if not less, of the Shadow over Yinzmoth. Look, because it's got it in like 5 parts, and most of the parts are over an hour long.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's still shorter than the book we just did.
Yeah, how many pages was that book? Because I don't actually own it. Anybody know? 350 easy.
It was 8 hours, 8.5 hours of audio.
Wow.
So yeah, probably around 350.
Okay.
Maybe 6.
I don't mind. It just I didn't think that the chapters were that long as I was doing it, and I got a little distracted this week. I was like, okay, I got it on audio now.
But I listened to the whole thing at 2 times speed, partially because I found that you guys like, oh, this is a great reader. He read so slowly.
This guy?
I could have paced myself at his talking rate.
Really, I didn't think he was that slow. Actually, it was just
Yeah.
It was just long.
Yeah, he was soft, and the soft speaking people tend to be a little slower. They're easier to understand, sped up.
Yeah, as soon as it's sped up, it's like, okay, I can at least listen to this.
I noticed that toward the end, like the last 7 chapters or so, there's a lot of fast paced stuff, and I'm like, okay, I can
That I
follow
will agree
along.
with.
It was it was way better than I thought. I really thought I was going to hate this book. I was even this morning like, oh man, not wanting to do it. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I gotta go to work and listen to this book. I did a bunch of chores and stuff while I was doing it.
There's going to be a lot of stuff like that on the list that you're just going to slog through.
Yeah, admitted, more than halfway through the book, I'm going to stop this at any moment and just say, sorry, Shadow, I couldn't do it. Somehow I managed to power on, though. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, it does get better, and it wasn't, I know a lot of other people, I'm one of those exceptions when it came to this book. They went into the book going, I can't wait to read this, whereas I was like, okay, this is definitely not my kind of, fantasy. I liked, you guys know some of the books that I really liked. They're very, very, the exact opposite of this. It's not medieval Europe. It's not even Earth, that kind of thing. And this was, absolutely Earth, which is something I just not a fan of. Which is, makes me, in the minority in the hobby. Most people, that we all know, they want to play a fantasy Earth. They want to go to England or whatever. And I'm like, no, because I already lose the immersion because I know none of that stuff is real. You know what I mean? It didn't happen. It's fantasy, it's fiction, it's mythology. At least when I go into like Elric, I already know that it's a completely different world, and I can imagine that maybe somewhere out in the cosmos, it's a real thing. You know what I mean? Which I know it's not, but it's easier for me to picture that than all the other stuff because of some of the other shows I do where we're talking about conspiracies and beliefs that I don't have or share because I back it up by proof that it didn't ever happen.
Also, when we're done the appendix end, the things that are going to come up afterward are going to be longer.
Yeah,
just by the nature of the industry and how it's gone since the 70s.
Yeah, well, like when I asked if I could introduce something besides books afterwards, such as a YouTube saga, I guess it's still read as an audiobook, but it's someone's Warhammer tale. It's about half of it would be best done as a single player, but half of it actually could easily pertain to a group of characters.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask you guys about that because I've played a lot of single DM and player games over the many years.
I've played a few. I don't mind them.
To me, looking back on it, it seems kind of weird. You know what I mean?
It can be because you don't have like as many people to bounce off of, so there's a lot more stilted. I find there's a lot more stilted.
But I find it a little. I hate to say this, but like desperate and sad in a way. It's like
I
got
don't know about desperate and sad, but my big issue with it is I did this a lot with the single player. It leads to a lot of power gaming from that player because all of a sudden he has to do everything and he has to be super powerful.
That also depends on if the game master is not capable of like stepping outside the bounds of the ultra gaming system of D&D,
or the plot armor. It's like if the character dies, the game's over. Yeah. You know what I mean? Did you guys ever do multi-character for the one player kind of thing, or was
I've done that. I've done both.
Never
I've done
got
the single player. I've done the multiplayer.
Because after having read
campaign hoppers.
After having read Razor Fist's novels, The Long Moonlight, and the other one, I could see that's a one player thing. Conan's a one player thing. You know, there's a lot of these that are
Where
clearly,
you,
like Justin said, one player.
yeah, you could have like the sidekick character,
Mm-hmm.
or that you're also playing, or is an NPC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's another thing when like I did the one player game, but when it came to the NPCs roles, like I didn't choose what their actions were, but I was the one rolling those dice just because I already had dice in my hand from rolling my
Mm-hmm.
character, so
Mm-hmm.
just roll the NPCs die too, right? It became a thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
I might do a short video on that, asking more from other folks out there because I could see that it being more of a thing now than ever before.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, there's
okay,
also always been like solo play, but there's a lot
stay on
more.
the sidewalks. Jackie's going
Uh,
for a ride. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I've heard a lot of people talk about that, even solo wargaming and stuff like that. And I'm like,
yeah.
I just can't.
Excuse me, sir, but your son needs to take a ride with me.
Yeah, he's gonna go ride his bike because we had a big dinner and he wants to. Uh,
Lose
uh,
weight.
yeah, we'll talk about that because I've got some info for those of you who care about what the little guy is going through right now. Some juice, some gossip. Um,
Off the air.
yeah, yeah.
The drama.
And not so much draw. Well, maybe I don't know. Just you know,
I gotta work
The
on.
drama llama strikes again.
I gotta work on that airship thing tonight or in the
you know,
Yeah,
morning.
so do I.
you know.
We've got this week and next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is week 5, right? I'd have
If
to go
you've been
check.
keeping track correctly, yes. I've been listening to what you've been saying.
I've been
'cause
numbering them. I started numbering them
Yeah.
with this one, so that
All I need is all I need is a due date.
well before week 1 of next thing.
I mean,
So
an
it would
actual
be
calendar date, and then I'll be
that would be
like,
the 20th.
That'll
okay,
be the 20th. Or you could just like I didn't finish this, but I'll come back to it when it comes to revision time.
yeah,
Because
no,
I pretty much had to do that with the mech thing because I went so long on it.
I, 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 I really actually that's one of the aspects of pushing. It's like it's due here, so
Hmm.
kind of like this show today. Um, I had to put it off because I had no choice. And once it got down to the wire, I'm like, I tend to do really well under pressure when it comes to deadlines.
Hmm.
And the boys learning that from me, I guess. Um, and I like it. I don't feel like the pressure of certain things, but I do feel the pressure of wanting to get it done by then, which makes me want to sit down at my keyboard more often, as
Hmm.
opposed to I've got 6 weeks. I can just start piddle farting around, which one of the things I like is so far I've ended up being done with a week to spare. I really like that. Then I spend that week with that extra energy to work on either the next one or something that's been sitting on the back burner, and like knowing that it's like, hey, whatever I do here is bonus, but at the same time, it's serving a greater purpose that I can,
Hmm.
get to, work on this story or that story, anything but that other story. Justin, I'm not going to touch that until it's that time.
It's time where I'm gonna come up with a whole different thing for that. Right now, the thing I'm working on is separate.
This is just a bonus, right? It's just a warm up. You know,
No, I'm gonna bring this thing to 120 pages and or 220 pages and
do you honestly think if you put that on Amazon, it would sell? Yeah, really. Not saying that it's bad or anything like that, but that there would be a market for this very specific thing. Okay. The follow up question: what would be the target audience?
45-year-old Catwoman.
I'm glad that's the answer as opposed to the other more obvious answer.
Our truck drivers.
That was not what I was thinking at
Those
all.
are the two predominant markets for that kind of literature, bro.
One does not surprise me at all. The other one blows my freaking mind. I mean, other than um, you remember? Do you guys watch? Did you guys watch Archer?
I've seen a few episodes of it.
Have you seen the one where Archer's
Probably not.
getting into some beef with a truck driver, and it shows he's actually wearing some high heels while he's driving the truck, and then later on they get chased by him and his buddies.
No,
Okay,
but I don't think truck drivers read it because they're cross dressers. I think they read it because there's like sex and shit going on.
I could get.
It's like Red Shoe Diaries.
Okay, I can kind of understand that, but you would think that that's kind of like the last thing that they would be listening to, in a way. You'd think that they'd be listening to,
You would be amazed how strong a will it takes to avoid porn. They have actually scientifically proven this.
That's why it's so voracious.
Yeah,
A drug.
I get that, but it's just
Porn is worse than opiates, bro.
When I picture, because I've known quite a few truck drivers. We know a few as well.
Yeah,
I always picture
ask
them
Hungar. Ask Hungar. It's the kind of thing.
Yeah, he has no shame.
Yeah,
tell you.
and he was a truck driver.
right, but I just picture them listening to like Zane Grey or something like that, as opposed to
listen to the smut all the time. You don't. You people who watch porn don't look at porn 24/7.
Wow.
Speak for yourself, TCG. Yeah, I get it. There's chafing and rest time and stuff like that, but I just picture those guys, not doing that, listening to other things that are, even just the sports channel or
they do that too.
Just
shout out saying that truckers listen to that is like saying I don't know what it would be a small part of the
fish like, swim in water.
Or like it'd be like finding a fish in the water. Like most of what they're going to do is they're not going to listen to it 24/7. They're just going to like
they wait till the sun goes down and then
that could be possible.
I only listen to my porn while the sun's up. Once the sun goes down, no more porn.
He doesn't want the porn bots after him. They only come out at night.
Mostly.
That's when I write it.
That is just so. For me, it's so weird. It wouldn't have even dawned on me because I don't even watch sitcoms or anything like that. It's science fiction, fantasy.
Yeah,
and a few other exceptions.
Well, that's most of what I do too. I don't fucking partake in that shit. I was just looking at the genre of what has the lowest bar of requiring to be competent at writing and sells well. Those were my metrics.
Mm-hmm. That's fair, I suppose.
I have no doubts of that.
For me, it's a lot like the games I run. I want to run the games that I wish I could play in, and if people like it, awesome. If they don't,
I also wouldn't mind being in a relationship with 2 or more 18-year-old women.
I thought you were going to say French maids, but okay.
French maids.
At least you didn't say giant stuffed teddy bear.
No.
No, he's forcing that shit on me.
No. That's the scene. I'm going to send you a link to what I've written so far, bro.
No, I was making an Oscar joke, remember?
No. Oh, yeah. I sent you the picture of Oscar the Grouch
Uh-huh.
with Dennis Swift.
No, I was saying that's what you forced on me to do.
No, you don't actually have to do that shit, man. Not that
I
this shit
know.
I have to do the thing I sent him, but
Yeah, because
it's funny.
Once
as fuck.
again, we get back to Justin's the only one who can make a running gag.
Yes. That's one of the running gags. It's only I'm allowed to make running gags. I believe it's running gag 783.
Come, little running gag. We shall sell our epic to Disney.
I've filled in a lot of tentative gaps in this script since I sent it to Raven. Anything that isn't like an actual scene, is what you call a placeholder for ideas. I got to find the link settings. View with, edit with. Anyone with the link can have copy. Okay. TCG. You are right here. And there's the link. Do not share.
do not share. Especially to anybody in Canada.
No. my government is okay with this kind of work. It's just got to have literary merit. And the literary merit is very low.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's how you argue that in court if it ever comes up. What does that mean? If Lolita can get put on the bookshelves, anything I write will be allowed on the bookshelves, bro.
I'm unfamiliar with that, but okay.
Yeah. Lolita is why book burning is okay by me.
I can think of other reasons.
It starts off with a guy. There's
And
a
then
guy.
he says Rosebud.
No, it's worse than that.
Oh, that's bad.
He's like at a park or something like that, and he sees this girl, and she's like 9, and he has a fantasy about her, and he makes up a name in his head for her, and that name is Lolita. And then he ingratiates himself to the girl's mother, who is single, so he could be closer to her. Then he marries the girl's mother, and then the girl's mother dies. And then the book ends with him and the girl driving off into the sunset, and he's now referring to her directly as Lolita.
Oh, that's wrong on so many levels.
Yeah. And like, this is supposed to be the height of great literature.
No, that doesn't sound like that to me at all.
No, it doesn't sound like that to me at all either.
They need to make a sequel where it turns out the little girl's a monster and the whole book is her chasing him down as a
No,
monster.
it's not a fantasy book, bro.
It was a joke.
Yes.
It kind of is, because the fact that they get away with that, and not get run out on a rail, if not tarred and feathered and then plucked.
No, that's still fantasy, because that shit gets. People get away with that far too often, as you well know, man.
Yeah. Intolerable.
Well,
the fact that
back to what I was getting ready to say just before the stream started. One thing I suggest, if you get Fnatic Paints Shadow, because I do recommend them, they're very nice.
Yeah.
Wet palette.
I've got my own. I made one. I just
I mean you just use a wet palette, because I just learned they tend to clot just a little bit easier than Vallejo.
Yeah, we were talking about that with speed paints with the weather here. I'm having that problem where that's the word I was looking for. Thank you too.
Clot.
Yeah. Like where they get stringy.
Yeah.
Or leave little weird marks on the paint job.
Yeah. Oh, brush marks. Yeah.
More like little lumps in this case. It's like the paint dried and more batches than I wanted it to.
Mm.
It doesn't look bad from a distance, but get really close up. This is definitely not a
Shake better.
paint job.
No, it's just
might
like
have been the
it's like
problem.
it's like instant drying.
Well,
Mhm.
You know,
paint around
and you
here
know,
does
like
dry pretty fast. We've gone from the super heated months where the water is getting evaporated, so therefore it's real humid, to the colder months where the water stays in the lake, so it gets really dry.
Mhm.
So I really should get a little humidifier for this place. It would definitely help.
which fanatics do you have?
I got the most wanted set that came.
Okay.
Part of the reason is because it came with that little orc miniature,
Okay, because
which is kind of find out one of a kind.
I'm very,
No,
very
it's part of a
interested.
range, but
I tried to find it, but I couldn't. Well, then again, I'm not
yeah,
the best.
the
at looking,
name on the
so.
bottom is the name of the range, but
Yeah, I
I
found I
couldn't
found
find
the
it
range, but yeah, like I said, I found the range, but I couldn't find that exact miniature. It's like I was hoping they'd have a whole bunch of them because I do want to try different war games at some point. And Age of Sigmar does look kind of interesting. I would actually proxy an entire orc army to make those what they're basically well, from the movie Tolkien esque,
Mhm.
with their body shape and size. I'd say Urukai.
Yeah.
But their armor is more reminiscent. Its armor, I should say, is more reminiscent of a orc. Well, a combination of the two, really.
Mm.
I mean, I really need to take pictures and put it online because it is a badass miniature, and I need to actually see about contacting that company saying, hey, your orc miniature is amazing. You need to make an entire line of these things.
Yeah, I think it might be a hero character.
That is possible. All I know is it comes with the box. It's like, oh, I want to test it out instead of buying the beginner set. It's like, well, I get this really awesome miniature, and I already like their speed paint, so I'll go ahead and spend a few extra bucks to get the most wanted set instead.
So
Definitely worth it.
I just put a token down on Audible for the complete fiction H.P. Lovecraft.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. I don't know if you have an Audible account, you get one free book.
Yeah, I should really take a look at the bills I'm paying right now and see what I can potentially lose, and maybe see about getting Audible because
I've had this.
You've been saying really good things about Audible.
It's
I've had
just
this
so
for
much easier.
Decades, I want to say, and
Yeah.
it's over 1,000 pages.
What, the one you showed with the yeah, that doesn't look decades old, man.
I've had it for, I want to say, at least 20 years, maybe less. Well, it has to be because it's 2008,
So a
close
decade.
to.
which is the year Jackie was born. So at least I've had at least 15 years.
16. With 2008. Yeah. 15.
But it's got it all.
Yeah, it's fuck that series of books, that imprint of books.
Yeah.
Is really nice. It's part of a range of collections.
It's
that I've
nice.
been
It's got a
looking
really
at.
nice. It's got a really nice cover. I think I paid
It's leather
about
bound or whatever.
$50 for this.
Yeah.
It's got a built-in ribbon and all that. The pages are nice and thin. Not Bible thin, but not
Yeah.
super
Oh, I
thick.
hate Bible thin, man. Oh. They do another version of that's instead of the nice chromatic cover, it's like an old school style of embroidery with the gold inlay. Or
Okay.
Nice.
yeah.
Oh, I scored like a fat rat with a purchase off of eBay. Somewhere between 150 to 200 miniature bases, mixed sizes, for $10.
That's not bad.
About 90%, probably like 99% of them
Oh,
were
wow.
clean.
Huh.
I had a few I
expect-
needed to stick in alcohol, but
I was expecting this to be much older. My complete works of Edgar Allan Poe is copyright 1966, as in first printing.
Mm-hmm.
and I was born in '67. But
Lies.
I was reading
No,
it.
he was born in 67. 67 years after the dinosaurs died.
The year 67.
I was reading it in '72. The day I graduated from kindergarten, my dad handed me this,
Nice.
and it had me read The Telltale Heart. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
at 5 years old, I knew how to shoot a rifle.
yeah, I could do that as well. But you know, it was like, you know, I came home all proud. You know, I graduated. You know, had my little fake paper, you know, graduation cap and everything, and nobody was there. It was just me. You know, my family didn't show up, and mind you, I assembled my first bicycle so I could ride it to school at 5 years old. My parents bought me a bike in a box and said,
Yeah.
"Put it together."
They still make that book, the Lovecraft one, but it has a like a tan ribbon now.
Mine's kind of tan.
Is it tan? I thought it was green.
It looks tan. It could be green. But
Uh,
I'm looking more into getting hardbacks. I would have even bought the Gore books in hardback if I could find them.
that's not the kind of thing you buy in hardback, bro.
Just saying, you know, that way when you know I'm gone, Jackie has to deal with that. It's like, why are there 28 books? You know, 28 hardcover books. You know,
Oh, you just want to do it out of spite.
I don't know that I call it spite, just as a, you know, just as a lingering, you know, sort of doubt, sort of memory. It's like, why does my dad have this in you know, gold leaf, and you know,
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm gonna feel about him. I can tell you the first
Why
two.
is this page sticky?
Oh.
It's way tamer than what we just read.
Yeah,
You know,
well, yeah. It's way tamer than that weirdo feminist was going on about.
mhm.
Uh,
It- I know it's gonna get
it's
worse,
way tamer. It's way tamer than Sort of Truth.
but you know it's
Uh,
weird. You
well,
know it's weird.
watch is like my first thing I'm putting on the thing. Is the Wizard's First Rule, book one.
Because I did a little searching on YouTube for, you know, I wanted a review of uh, the next book, and I was like, yeah, that's what I expected, you know. Then I started getting these. What is that?
You don't
Twix.
got Twix?
Oh, it really looks very different. It honestly, it looked like a model of a sailing ship.
I seen the Twix right on the package.
No,
That looks like a model of a sailing ship to you?
the way it was at a little bit of an angle, and it kind of looked like some sort of yeah, it kind of did look like either a sailing ship or an airship model. I started getting these videos of people who live the Gorian lifestyle.
I
And
gotta find a woman that wants to live the Gorian lifestyle, bro.
well, they're out there, but they're not at all what you would like them to be like, because it's
I
this
gotta find
weird
a hot woman that wants to live the Gorian
it's
lifestyle.
this weird, more psychological thing than any sort of physical thing. It's weirder than anything I've ever seen. And mind you, the people are kind of unfortunate looking. Just gonna say, you know, so I can kind of understand that you know, that's better than nothing, I guess. But it's just so, it's just disturbingly just. I don't want to add any other words to that sentence, um, but it's just I just
I've got a
weird, just
question
very
that slightly changed the
just
topic.
just go ahead with it. You don't have to ask the or preface it
Uh,
with letting.
Okay. I just,
Just say it,
well, I
dude.
didn't just. I've been waiting for it to come out. There is a Kickstarter for P3 paints. I don't know if you will know what that is.
I saw
Someone
that
has
this
bought the
morning.
company. Yeah,
Okay, I'm putting it in the paint section. I'm going to do it of everybody's Discords.
Yeah, they're doing dropper bottles, but you can select for the old
get the
style
original
paints.
pots. Yeah,
and apparently those pots are like the pinnacle of pot construction ever.
well,
Like
supposedly, because I watched a couple people who talk about it, they claim those pots have not dried out of being even the ones that are decades old. It's like,
yeah.
As much as I don't like pots, that is better than a dropper bottle.
That.
Yeah, the Citadels used those pots originally, with the rubber lid that sealed. And if you,
here's my thing.
if you wipe them off
I've only ever spilled pots. I've never spilled dropper bottles. And with as cheap and the way I am with my paint, I only put a drop or two or three, depending on how big of the job it is, and because trying to teach Jackie not to just with the craft paints. Even the craft paints is like, hey, if we run out of that color, it could be 2 weeks before we can get back to getting that color. And
if not longer, because some craft paints don't make the same color after a while. They like rotating colors for whatever reason.
And in that 2 weeks, if you can't go back to it the very next day, like at the same time, it's like when he was starting out, it's like, okay, you've got all your homework done. You want to come out and paint, or he's already, I want to paint, but then when you're out of paint and you'll just forget about it. It just takes one day of getting out of that routine, and then suddenly you're not painting again for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Or a year, like him, and that's not a good habit to get into with anything. And if you can, mitigate that by being a little chintzy with your paint, adding water, things like that, whatever it takes to not waste the paint or make it last.
One of the things that I'm interested in is, so I watched one of the YouTubers that was talking about it. The original formula, which supposedly the new company is keeping to, actually have a longer drying time, making it easier for blending.
Yeah, they have normalized the pigments with modern technology, right? So the yellows cover better and stuff like that. But
well, stay true doesn't necessarily mean copy exact.
Yeah. Yeah. This guy that was in chat earlier, Troy Kaw or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You ever see that guy before?
No, and he did subscribe to the channel last week.
Yeah,
I'm 100% certain he's never going to make it on the show.
Just because of the send me the link.
Yeah. I mean, that's not how we do things here. Participate in the conversation, get yourself a little bit of a reputation. For being somebody.
Go out, kill some bandits, prove that you're worth your weight in salt.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let us know that you know what the hell we're all about, as opposed to it's all about me. I just need to be on somebody's channel because I'm bored.
Yeah.
We've been there, we've done that, and we're not,
I might note that Felix was in the chat at the beginning of the stream.
And he wanted to tell a joke, and then that didn't pan out for him. Even though I said, "What's the joke?" You want to tell us a joke? We'll listen.
Well, I was really tempted to. I was really tempted to look up the link to that shirt and respond with that.
Yeah, that could easily have been. You need to type what Shadow would say before he says it, which reminds me of gotta get those bingo cards out by the end of the year, so we can do that, because at the end of the year, hopefully, we'll have made it to 1,000 subscribers. In which case, I'll be sending out a bunch of stuff in the mail, and then I can start, deciding what's going.
I'm expecting a package, motherfucker.
What could be prizes for that giveaway, and what other prizes I can make for the bingo game.
Is there anything you want like that I got? I can send you, or
no, man, no. No, it's all good, man. I if I want something, I go out and grab
No,
it.
no.
Moments.
What you need to get, what you need to do, Justin, get your 3D printer back up and running. Print shadow the entire.
Bro, it would be cheaper for me to just go on Amazon and have a 3D printer sent to his place.
Yes, yes, yes. But you need to get, but it needs to automatically. Then it needs to have the files from. Crap. What's that group?
I can just email those to him.
It's just a big. It's the big guys.
And to be honest, what I like more than
The
anything
cop,
else
the Indian.
are surprises.
Oh,
There are
fuck
too
was that
few of
called?
those these days. It seems surprises and good times.
Yeah.
And you guys already provide most of that, and for that, always be grateful. Plus, if it wasn't for you, Justin, it might be another decade before I actually, wrote something. And
Yeah. Well, in the new year, in between prompts, I'm going to start giving out exercises. I already got one on mind.
that reminds me of something I wanted to ask you. Um, have you ever thought about like teaching?
I have taught. I have taught courses at work and other places,
Have you thought about
but the bureaucracy of like long-term education can go fuck itself.
uh,
Um, yeah,
are there other ways to go about being accredited or what have you?
accredited.
You know,
You
online
get
or
things, but I'm not really concerned about it. I'm enjoying what I'm doing here, but
okay.
you
Well, no,
know,
because I've noticed you're actually as good as you are at writing. You're also very good at the things.
shepherding.
I guess if that's what you want to call it.
You
Uh,
know, most of it's like sticking a torch up your butthole to get you doing things.
well, yeah, it wasn't.
I had to make the imagery appropriate for my good friend Shadow, the way his brain works.
Yeah,
Um,
they definitely lit a fire under my ass, and
yeah.
hopefully the next couple of stories I crank out will not suck. You know what I mean?
Well, my first exercise is going to be in the new year. I think it'll be right before we do our first story of the new year. We'll be writing one scene that is a minimum of 4 pages because you do truncate a lot. You rush through things,
hmm
so keeping you in one
I
place.
don't know.
Like,
I think the this latest story, I've not done that. I don't know how far you've read because I'm up to I want to say about page 15 now.
15,
And
that's good. That's good. But you've had a few of them that have been like a third of the space you have to work in. And
uh-huh.
if you want to get up to like writing more than just short stories, you've got to learn to put more in than just the immediate moment, and then that
Yeah,
you want to accidentally write a 200-page mech story instead of a 31.
right.
Uh, you know,
Or make a whole bunch of mini stories.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
that's
an anthology, a short
well,
story anthology.
not just that, but with Showdown. It's a short story, but it's technically also just chapter one of a longer story.
Well,
And I've got the next two chapters started that make it work the way I wrote it. So it's not like
it's also like if you're doing that, it becomes the and then instead of this happens because of, or
no,
you know what I mean.
it's definitely not that. I don't
Um,
think it is
I could see it becoming that way
because it
with that kind
involves
of framework.
it's completely different characters. Chapter two and three are entirely different characters. Uh,
Hmm.
so it's you know
Hmm.
it's not really an and then, or at least it isn't for the original characters because they're elsewhere. This is completely different things.
Well, George, I see that the comment Shadows put up there, and you are now required to follow along, starting with the not the
Serial
next
killer.
not the next story, but the one after it, just because
Well, you know what?
making people cringe is funny for
You know
me.
what, George? You know what helped me a lot, um, is getting feedback from other people having
Yeah,
read my stuff.
and the only thing I've seen you post in the way of writing on my channel was a list of like ships from different series. That's not writing. That's like listing things. I'm gonna be honest with you,
Who?
George.
I don't
Um,
remember that list.
yeah, he had like something with like shuttle, X-wing,
Oh,
Tie Fighter. Like it was, made no sense. It was just a list of ships.
well,
Um,
I know he's been working on a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Maybe George, find something and send it to us.
yeah,
Just so you can get some opinions.
yeah.
Not saying we're all just gonna give you nothing but glorious praise. Everybody,
No, I
you
don't
know,
give anybody praise.
um,
Praise doesn't help you improve. Praise
right,
helps you wallow in your misery and failure.
or
Um,
you become complacent and don't change
yeah,
anything. And I sent my first story out. Sorry, guys. Wow,
yeah. That person's just being an asshole.
that is literally the textbook
That
definition.
that was enough to make me do one of those boing jumps, where your body just kind of springs.
Yeah.
Because everybody I sent it to, and mind you, I sent it to like over a half a dozen people. Everybody came back with suggestions or questions, and that
Yeah.
helped me. Oh, okay,
Well, well, I
I
know
need
that
to
you
do
said
this,
praise
or I need to
doesn't
do
really
that.
help, but honestly, I liked what Shadow was doing with the story, and I don't have any input based off of what I'm doing for my game that would affect Shadow. It's like I said,
Hmm.
even though Shadow's writing technology that's not in the main book, it'll be in a supplementary book in the future. So it's not like it's out of the
Yeah.
realm of possibility for the game.
Use it if you want.
Don't if you don't.
Yeah, you got total
Yeah, I know.
permission. As long as you put my
I'm
name
just
on it,
saying.
I'm happy.
I'm just saying. Shadow said he wanted to make something that could be worked in the book. I'm just saying I got no complaints thus far.
Well, it helps if I have a purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just writing for the sake of writing, which I absolutely enjoy.
Your
But
purpose is to get better at the craft. That's going to be your
right,
primary
if I know what the
purpose.
purpose is what I'm saying.
Oh, like the thread line, the subplot or whatever, right? The subjective plot.
No, 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 no. What like why am I writing it?
Hmm.
As opposed to what am I writing and what am I writing
Hmm.
about? Why am I
Hmm.
writing it like with craftings? I'm writing it to possibly help him flesh out his thing.
Hmm.
In addition to getting better, in addition to finding out where my strengths and weaknesses are,
Well,
and
I'll be honest with you. We're all really still too amateurish to know what our strengths are. That there's not enough. Like
Oh well,
I'll,
one of
I'll
my
tell
strengths
you
turned
this.
into a sorry.
Like you'll find that the more you push yourself, you'll develop things that you didn't think were strengths that will become your strengths.
Well, one of
Um,
my strengths was very evident in my first book, which also turned into a kind of a downside. Show, don't tell.
mm,
Remember, Shadow was saying that I did way too much show, don't tell. Like, dude, you need to do a little more telling.
no, it's the other way around.
yeah, that's literally what I said was that it's the whatever it's called, whatever the opposite of show don't tell is. That's
Yeah,
what you need to work on.
yeah. You need to have things described to the actions of your characters, not just like in
This
in
happens and
in,
this
in
happens and
info
this happens.
dump. Like yeah, uh, you create your info, and then if you want to introduce things that you've written in your side document of what's going to go on, in your story, you have to have your characters do those things, have them come up and be introduced.
Or like for example, what I did was I wrote down a couple of paragraphs or a paragraph of each character, and then found a way to use that as people were noticing the characters that I'm talking about without fully stating everything all at once. Like like with Robert E. Howard, every time you meet Conan, he describes every muscle.
Well, he doesn't do it every time, but it will
What I mean?
it will be sprinkled out through every story in case it's the person's
Well,
first.
for me, I noticed it seems to be like at the beginning of every story,
Yeah,
and I know it's not every story. It's
usually
like
in the
they
first
describe
story.
the guy, and you're like, yeah, we know it's
think that's just
Conan.
good writing practice. Yes,
Well,
he is the
it's
same character, but
It was more because of the serialized format that he was writing in.
it's because each story is a standalone.
And it was in a magazine that you might never have read something before. It was in a pulp magazine, and you might not have ever read a Conan story. So if you're reading your first Conan story, I'm going to put it in there so you know from now on. But
Now,
then
you might still get that in like longer form literature, but it will be like in the first one he's fully explained. In the second one or two features are explained. In the third one, different two or three features are explained. You know, like in Stephen King's The Dark Tower, Roland of Gilead, the fact that he has glinty blue eyes is always brought up but it's only ever done in the context of the scene. It's not arbitrarily brought up, right? If it's relevant to the scene, to add those 5 or 6 words in there, it's done. Otherwise,
and George, we'll have to go
it's
over
not
that
brought up.
that list because, like I said, a bunch of them were things I think we've covered. But with the coming new year, I don't mind revisiting robots or
Well,
Starship Combat or things like that, just because we have new people.
yeah, we're wrapping up the airship one in 2 weeks, I think. But yeah, we'll be coming over the same relative topics again and again because it's the things we're interested in, right?
Right, and
And why
science
wouldn't we?
fiction is it's got some basic tropes that you need to insert these tropes, or it's not science fiction.
And we actually haven't done Starship Combat yet.
I think I did before you joined.
Oh, for the Sunday, I
Saturday.
thought the Saturday.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about.
No, I'm reading the most recent thing he said with
Airships.
yeah, the current prompt. I thought
Yeah, I
that
don't
would
even know that there'll be any actual combat in my story.
yeah,
Uh,
it doesn't have to be.
there might, but I haven't got there yet. I'll probably get there tomorrow,
Well,
whether I decide to do that or not.
Mhm.
Well, I'm kind of following a pre-scripted thing where kind of pre-scripted because I'm embellishing on the adventure I did for Table Breakers, which there was 3 points of combat: a barrel golem, a giant fish, and then at the end, ship-to-ship battle. But that was to do 3 different forms of combat for a test for how that game works. So I'm hoping to slide. I know I can slide the last one in because I'm hoping I didn't time it with a sledgehammer, but I really kind of played off that the city might get attacked for having this real precious cargo. It's the middle part that I'm hoping to allude to without making it's the middle combat, I should say, I'm hoping to allude to without making it sudden, like Justin said I kind of did with the Hoffman character in my first book.
The story.
All right,
But
guys,
yeah,
we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna be back tomorrow morning over on Justin's show.
for
Where
this
we'll
very conversation.
yeah, exactly. But I will have written some more.
Hopefully, I will have to.
Same here.
I've been pretty regular. Once Jackie goes to sleep, I can actually relax, and it's like I got a couple hours.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
won't go
my
back
first
to sleep.
thought. Sorry, my first thought when you said Jackie goes to sleep and you can think, I'll bet he psychically taps into the power of his son's dreams and makes him dream of sky ships and make it his ideas. I'm sorry, I had to take my back pill medication, so I'm a little funky.
Enjoy. I remember
Funky.
days of back medication myself.
Yeah,
I
well,
figured
unless I want to get a surgery, there's not much that can be done for mine. And
same
the
here.
doctors say it's not bad enough to warrant the risky type of surgery it'd have to be.
Yeah, don't go under the knife unless you have to. The best thing you could ever do is drop
I am working on losing weight.
Sometimes
I walk every
yeah.
day, well, almost every day.
Yeah.
Today
You
I
need to get
didn't
one of
get to,
those
but that's because I
vibrating
didn't want
belt
to.
things that women used in the 50s. Remember
I
those
wish that
vibrating belt
worked.
things?
the
Yeah,
best thing you can do crafting is drop some pounds. I guarantee
Yeah.
you.
yeah,
My
exactly. Like I was
back
saying,
was
I'm
really
working on
bad,
it.
and I was
Well,
at like 210 or something like that, and I went down to 155, 150, and they like
uh,
it was gone. It was just gone.
well, I dropped about 40 pounds when I cut soda out of my diet. But that wasn't even like, oh, I'm going to cut soda out. It's like, why do I drink this? This tastes gross. I'm done with that.
The main reason why I cut it out is because I realized I was spending close to $200 a month on it.
Ouch.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't spending quite that much, but I was drinking enough soda to literally drink at least one to two sodas a day every day.
I
Mm-hmm.
was
I
I
would
was at a
drink
two
I
liter
would drink
bottle
it
a day.
quicker than that, but that's the equivalent of what I was drinking.
When I was done with my coffee, it was a 2 liter a day.
Yeah.
And that was back when it was only $1 a bottle, but that's still $365 a year. Now it's surprisingly barely over $1.50, $2 a bottle.
Where are
Soda is
you?
surprisingly still cheap.
Not
Yeah,
here. It's not that cheap
Not
here.
there. Well, America is kind of addicted to soda. If the soda prices went too expensive, we'd actually have an uproar in this country.
Uh, yeah. No, you just pay it. You just pay it.
I
Yeah,
know we
That's
true.
would.
how this one's
Americans are
for.
lazy.
I know we would pay it when it's $3 for a 12 ounce and it's half that for a 2 liter.
Mm-hmm.
How dumb are we? You know,
Yeah.
because it's cold and it's there. Oh, okay, I'll pay the $3, the 289
Yeah.
for a 16 ounce or a 12 ounce bottle of Pepsi versus go over to the other aisle and grab it for $1.50 and then just fill your 12 ounce bottle a couple of times.
Oh, I walked into the dollar store uh here, right? So they have the coolers with the small bottles like that, but then they have the 1 liter bottles on a shelf,
Hmm.
so they're warm. And we were going to the movies, so my brother and I we were like we arrived early. We got like an hour to kill, so we walked over to the shelf with the 1 liter bottles of Pepsi, put them in the cooler, and just waited an hour, and
Hmm.
then bought them. And we just stood there, like chit chatting and talking about shit. And people were like, "We're just waiting for something to cool
Hmm.
down."
Yeah. Uh,
We just
Hey, if you
threw
weren't
'em we
bugging
just
people, there's
threw them
worse
in the
things you could have been
fridge.
doing.
and I guarantee you, the people in the store don't care, but the companies,
Yeah,
they're doing what they're doing on purpose.
yeah.
You know, there's no reason why it should be that much
Well,
difference.
yeah. Um, you are spending more materials and packaging by producing
Right, but
smaller
after
lots at that
if you're
volume.
if you're a bottling company or whatever, and you've already paid for the small bottle and you've been making that same bottle for a decade, you've already made your money back.
The bottling company doesn't care. It's like
Well,
the
you know what I mean. The,
moving
the
volume.
company, the
Yeah,
Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever, they could just say, okay,
yeah,
fine, it's 89 cents for a 16 ounce, but
yeah.
no, and it's even funnier when you go to like a 7-Eleven and you can get this giant freaking half barrel with ice and the cold soda, and it's 99 cents.
Yeah, I think the largest 7-Eleven cup we have here that they've disappeared from the city a lot, but is about 1.5 liters.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I've got one.
or they have the like bring your own cup day, and people just go to the dollar store and buy the $1.50 trash pail, and then bring it over to the 7-Eleven and fill it up. So you get the like 5-liter trash pail and just fill it up with slushy.
Yeah, we had this one place where if you bought the big plastic cup, it was free. You know, you can get a refill a day for free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so if I come here every single day, you're losing freaking a fortune.
No, you do not understand how cheap
No, I do actually.
that is, and how likely it is that they would not do that. So it's the same with McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you've got a McDonald's branded cup, you can just go in and fill up there.
Mm-hmm.
And we would do that when I was in high school. We would buy a cup once a week because they would become waterlogged by the end of the week and
Yeah.
not hold anything. But we would, and we would air dry them too when we were done drinking, so they would last longer.
Yep.
And then just leave them in our lockers, and then just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and like after school, sometimes we like fill up 2 or 3 times during lunch break.
Mm-hmm.
How you become addicted to pop?
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that.
That and when 5 cans of RC Cola only cost $1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, gents. I'm gonna say goodnight. I got to do a couple things, and I'll see you guys in the morning. We can talk more about writing and more about soda.
Party on, everyone.
Soda is a sugar demon.
Happy trails, everybody.